Welcome to Nomad at Night, starring the one and only Nomad.
Yo, Nomaniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad at Night. I'm your host, Nomad. And with me tonight is my guy over to the right, Country Santa is with us. And my guy down at the bottom, my guy Kids is here. The Canadian. Hey, man, listen. I'm going to get right into this, man, because I got these antennas, y'all. I got these antennas, man. This animal-like instinct, man. And when my antennas go up, I have to speak. And my antennas are up and they are tingling. And I'm starting to sense. And you guys tonight, we're gonna get this stuff in order tonight. I'm starting to sense. So where I'm going is we have a fan base. We have a fan base that got so excited come draft time. We drafted the people that we needed. We grabbed some UDFAs that we needed. Came to training camp. People got extra excited about all this. And I was too. I've been excited about the whole process, just like everybody else. Finished training camp, 4-0 record in preseason. Great start, great energy, great mentality that you can see out on the field. And as people start to trickle into the show, let me say something. I'm starting to sense a whole lot of skittishness. When I get on social media and I don't see the same energy that I've seen throughout camp, throughout the drafting process and all the stuff that came with it preseason. If I don't see that same energy, I'm starting to think the Bears fans are getting like they always get. Talking a whole lot of SHIT, and then when it comes down to it, they start backing off and start getting nervous. And if you look at this thumbnail that we put together for tonight, I pointed out some playmakers. Why I say some playmakers? Because we didn't have enough thumbnail to put all of them on there. But we're going to get all the way into why I'm telling you guys tonight, keep that energy, man. Keep that energy. We've got what we need on this team. And tonight we're gonna put all that to bed, man. Everybody, it seems like everybody's skittish. I don't like that energy. We have no reason to be skittish, man. We got what we need on this team. We got playmakers and playmaker spots to do what we need to do this year. No reason to be nervous. No reason to feel like, oh, okay, because you get a few podcasters or reporters that's kind of tamping down your expectations. Don't listen to that shit. Don't. You don't need to. You do not need to. But we're going to get all the way into it tonight. And by the time this show is over, you're going to feel what the hell I'm talking about. And so before I carry on even further, I'm going to pass it on down to the Canuck to give out some pleasantries right quick.
Cheers, Bears fans. It's Sunday night. No Maniacs. What it do? When my guy goes off on stuff like that, I get worried. And I know you guys get worried too. We'll allow him to make his case. We'll go through it. We'll see what it sounds like. And I'm ready for some football, y'all. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm ready. I know Brian's up there. He's ready as you couldn't believe. Nomad's definitely extra ready. But, yo, let me give you guys a little bit of love before.
What's going on with Armando? What's going on with Junior?
What's happening with Junior? I missed something. Did I miss something?
And sorry to hear get well Junior. What's going on?
It's just sciatica's acting up again.
Oh, okay. Man, he's got that stuff going on like Sean. Sean's got that same stuff going on.
That ain't no good. That's not a good one, man. I have one buddy. Like I have a couple of buddies who have sciatica, but I have one guy. It just destroyed his entire life, and he was about 21 years old, maybe even 19, working at a grocery store, steps up the ladder. He's up there stocking shelves, falls off the shelf at the grocery store. Basically, life over. That was it. My guy can barely move. I mean, I bumped into him at a restaurant. This is a guy I went to high school with. And we were just chopping it up. And he was like, yeah, man, I do my little walk. I walk from my place to this restaurant. I might do little restaurants in the area, but just to get some walking going. Outside of that, I'm drugged. And I was like, for real, bro? He's like, oh, yeah. They got me on all kinds of drugs. I got like maybe an hour or two of clarity where I get to do this little walk that I go on, and I go on my walk and I get some exercise, get some food, back home, back on drugs. So yeah, I'm on morphine, so I'm pretty loopy, like that,
Right.
quote unquote Armando Lara Jr., right?
He's out there high as Rick James, man. He's good.
Trust me, the guy who I was talking to, he was like, look, it's either morphine or marijuana. And he was like, I try to do the marijuana thing as frequently as possible, but the morphine thing just knocks him out. But anyways, bro, shout outs to you, Junior, man. Feel better, bro. I know it's a tough one, man. That's not a joke. No question there. Big love to you, and bigger love to Patty Laura, just because it's Patty. Mad love to my guy, Jay Grizz, who just jumped in the chat. What it do, Jay Grizz? Mad love to Smitty Q, Dante Purify, King Booker World, Super No Maniac, King Booker World just jumped in the chat. Black Rain's out there, the Plankster, Super No Maniac Plank. Cornelius Squalls, number 2 No Maniac is out there. Mr. Mayhem just jumped in. What it do, Mr. Mayhem? AC Adams in there, just jumped in the chat. Who else we got? We got Black Diamond with us, FFG style. The Nodge is out there holding it down with us today, Super No Maniac Nodge. Miss Master Stoltz is out there with us today too. Minister Charles Johnson. I think that just about rounds it out for the majority. If I forgot you, I'll get you later. And then
Black Diamond, we hit my guy Black Diamond up.
I definitely gave Black Diamond a little bit of love. There's also who did I? Oh, I just passed it. Hold on, one more before we go. Black Rain. Black Rain 7920 is out there too. So Petty Murphy, what it do? Hey man.
Bob Keller seems to be a new guy. Hey, Bob, how you doing, man?
What's going on, Bob? I didn't see you out there, man. What's cracking? Hey, let's chop it up. We're gonna get into this football here. End of the day, I'm ready. I think the Bears are ready too. And the question is, really, is the fan base ready? Let's find out. Brian, what are you saying, Country Center?
Well, first of all, get well soon, Armando, and happy Labor Day weekend to all the No Maniacs, and welcome to the show. Should be an interesting show with the topic that we're going to discuss. One more week, gang. That's all we're waiting on. One more week. Go ahead, Nomad.
Well, let me. I just want to check in on everybody before we get started, man. We got a show coming up, man. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. But before we get going, what's everybody sipping on? Number one, it's Sunday night. This is Nomad at Night. This is what we do on the show, man. We have a good time. We let it loose. We let everybody be everybody, man. What we sipping on tonight, man? I need to see it. I need to see it.
Ice cold H2O.
That's what you need, man. That's what you need.
High quality H2O.
Hey, man, that's what Mr. Brian, that's what Country Santa needs in his life.
I don't know about high quality.
So again, with the Appletons and OJ, tastes like you just brush your teeth. I love it. It's the best. Don't drink it.
Is that brushing your teeth right after you drink orange juice? Or?
That's basically what it tastes like. It tastes like you know what I mean? Like, why am I drinking this orange juice? Because I love orange juice and it's early in the morning, but it tastes like crap. Why am I drinking this orange juice? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, except
you got to lick your backside just to get the taste out of your mouth.
No, I try not to do the
we're going to avoid all that. Mr. Charles Johnson, one of our members, man, he says, imagine dealing with sciatica, muscle spasmicity, I think, from having these strokes. The only time I'm not in pain is when I'm asleep. Shout out to Minister Charles Johnson.
Minister Charles Johnson, bro.
And hey, listen, good spirits to you, good vibes to you, man. Love, live, and love, man. And that's what you do in a day. Live, love, and try to find life and love wherever you go in your life, man. That's just the best thing I could say to that. That's what I go about doing every day. But when we close the show, Minister Charles Johnson, you stick around tonight, man, because I got a special little close tonight that I want to talk to people about, man. Might hit people in hit a spot for people, man, because I do believe, it's about how you live your life. Everybody, I'm not minimizing what anybody's going through, but everybody can complain about something. But, and the fact is everybody's going through something, but how you live your life and find love, that's really, you have to be, you kind of have to be intentional about that. You know what I mean? But hey, shout out to Minister Charles Johnson, one of our members. Thank you for sharing that right there, man. I appreciate it. I really do.
Man,
But
it's a tough one, that sciatica, man. Like I've had a little bit of it. The wife had a little bit of it more recently. Both of us. I know when I had it, man, I was out of commission, man. Out of commission, and literally had to lay on the ground instead of sitting on the couch. My son has like this roller that he uses for like to do yoga when he was working out. So I'm laying on the floor watching TV with this thing, and like I'm literally upside down. You know what I mean? With my legs hanging over to push my back into a way that it feels all like I don't even know how to explain it. It just feels counter to the pain. And it's not so much that it felt any better, but eventually it releases and I was all right. But man, sciatica ain't no fun, bro. That's not fun.
My last 3 weeks at the bar room, I don't know how many shows we ended up doing, boy, but if I bet you if you go back and look at those, this is that draft when we got Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens, that draft. That year I was still at the bar room, right before the draft. And right before the draft, 3 weeks before the draft, I was going through sciatica pain because my girlfriend's mother, of course, you guys know already, she was going through the final stages of dementia, and she lost all use of her pretty much her legs. She could use her arms. She could do everything but communicate and walk. And so when it came to, and she wasn't a small woman, and so when it came to having, I had to take her to and fro to the bathroom, get her in and out of that wheelchair, sit her on the stool, and pick her up, put her back in that chair, take her in the room, put her in there, pick her up, take her to the couch. So it was constantly me picking her up because my girlfriend ain't that big. She ain't that big. I had to put all of that on me. And my sciatica nerve started acting up probably a week before those 3 weeks. So I was going through it for 3 weeks straight with that sciatica pain to this day. To this day, I don't know how I did that. And my girlfriend just to this day, her mom's gone now. And every now and again, she'll come in here and she's like, "How did you do that?" I would literally put that lady on the toilet and hop on one leg because it's really inflamed on one side of my back, on one leg. And so I would hop as soon as I put her down on the toilet, I would hop to the couch and just lay there and that cold sweat. If you ever had those cold sweats from pain, you understand what I'm talking about. I would just lay there and I hoped and prayed, like, I hope she takes all day to use the bathroom because I need all day to get my shit back together. So that when it's time to pick this lady up, I'm in some kind of shape to get her up, get her in that chair, wheel her back into the living room, pick her up again, and put her on the couch and wait until the next time I have to pick her up. So you want to talk about understanding sciatica pain on a real level? No, I know it, man. I know it in my soul, man. So, man, I would just say this, man. Anybody dealing with that, God bless you, man. I had a couple of muscle relaxers, but it didn't help that much. I went to and those are narcotics to be honest with you. And I didn't want to do too much of that, So I would tell anybody that's going through that, if you really want to help yourself, get yourself some goodies, back and body. Literally go look for it right now. Anybody that's had that problem, anybody that knows somebody that's had that problem, go find goodies, back and body. Get on Amazon, and I'm telling you, it's going to change your life. to keep you from having to use them narcotics and all that kind of stuff, man. It will help. It will help. Trust me.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm just looking at that King Booker World foam roller and a massage gun, bro. That was me, bro, for the full week, man. That was it. Just hitting myself with that massage gun, foam roller tipped upside down just to counterbalance. Honestly, the only thing that I actually found helped was weights. And I would just counterbalance with weights and literally just pump the weights a little bit, man. And over time, it eventually releases pressure, and I was all right. Just to sort of create the counter stretch. But geez, man, I'm with you guys out there, man. Sound like a whole bunch of us. We're all old farts at this point, I guess. I guess that's the real reality of it all. I guess we're all just old. In any event, cheers to all you old bastards out there.
You know what? I'm not an old person, man. It's just the totality of football. I went to the doctor, and he asked me literally, "What kind of life have you been living?" And he's like, "What have you done?" Kind of, you know what I mean? And when I told him how long I had been playing football, he was like, "Oh, well, it's to be expected. You know, you're 185, 190 pounds." Out here trying to, tackle these big old dudes, you know what I mean? It's some big dudes. And when you run into them, and when you're doing it at that time, it's like your body recovers so fast. It's just like, ain't no big deal. And you're going to go do it again. And later on, some couple years later, it's just like, once you stop playing, it's just like, hold up, man. It is some adverse side effects to playing football. I'm just I feel like I'm on the lower end of it, because I didn't go and play a professional career. I can't even imagine what some of those guys go through that played 10, 12 years in this game and even longer. You know what I mean? So the respect that I have for professional football players, you guys wouldn't even get it, man. I just have the utmost respect. And when I respond to some of the stuff that some of the guys say on the show, I just need you guys to understand where my mind is and how much respect I have for these guys that play this game, man. I know how much work it takes and how brutal it is on the body. And so, I just do have a different level of respect. I just wanted to put that out there in the atmosphere so people understand.
The old fart rehab club, right? Straight from the mouth of the Nodge. That's pretty funny. But hey, yeah, man, it's definitely a painful one. Sucks that a bunch of us are suffering from it in one capacity or the next. Cheers to all you guys, man. But it's Bears football, yo. Let's move into more positive stuff. You know
man. Yeah, man. We're gonna get into it.
Let's turn the corner.
Yeah, before we get all the way there, I just wanted to let people know, I know we haven't been doing podcasts, and it's basically us shifting into neutral for me and the rest of these guys. So, because we got a long season coming up, it's going to be a whole lot of podcasts that need to happen. Going to give you guys a whole lot of content. These members and these new members, as this grows, we're going to have to give new content to them. Plus, Kids has got his thing going. We're going to have to do a sign-up show this week. All of that stuff's coming up. Just all the stuff that we're planning, all the stuff we know we're going to be busy doing. You got to rest up for this stuff. I got a year into doing this, and so I kind of know what's required, and I know we need a little bit of time before the season starts, before you get all the way into knee deep of the football season. So you guys enjoy your Labor Day too, because we're going to be off that day, but we should be right back at you that following day, hopefully doing Kids' sign-up show. Maybe we'll do that Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that, but stay tuned for that. We're trying to put that together and do a super flex sign-up show, because we do need some guys to get in at this last minute and get this thing going for everybody to enjoy it. So be looking out for that. However, we had a whole practice squad signing. 16 guys got put on the practice squad, and we didn't get a chance to respond to it. The final roster, I believe we responded to on the last Nomad at Night, I believe, right? We responded to the last roster, but we did not get a chance to talk about this 16-man practice squad, which I think was pretty impressive. I thought they put together a pretty good – it's really good depth to a team that's got some pretty good depth. I would just say that. And I was impressed with what they did. There's some guys that got omitted that I wish would have gotten on that practice squad. But we're going to talk about it right now, man. Kids has got it all hooked up for us and ready to pull it up. And so here we are, man. Before I get carried away in the talking, Brian, let me know what you think about overall without talking about specific guys, because we're going to get into the specifics in a second. But what do you think about this practice squad?
Oh,
Squad is.
I think it's solid.
You didn't put up the practice squad, did you?
Oh, it's right there.
There it is. Go ahead, Brian. My bad.
I think it's solid. They picked positions well, I guess you could say. I mean, they've spread it out. It's talented. You got some guys that have some experience, so it isn't all just, free agent or undrafted free agents. There isn't one of those guys that if they get called up that I'm disappointing in or scratching my head about, because they're solid. I mean, I realize the long snapper, he's relatively new, but given the situation, there wasn't a whole lot you could do. But the rest of them, the other 15, I like the overall 53-man team, and I like the practice squad. When you match that up with the other teams, I think they could go toe-to-toe. As silly as that may sound, practice squad versus practice squad, but I mean, that's just how I felt, kids.
Yeah. Wouldn't mind seeing a practice squad game. I'd sign up for that.
Yeah, just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it's an extra week of football. I ain't complaining. At the end of the day, I'm super stoked with what they put together. They have they've really pulled a lot of the depth that I was interested in onto this practice squad, with like very slight exceptions. Like the slight exception for me is Jalen Hutchings. I would have liked to see Jalen Hutchings make this practice squad, but that's it, guys. Outside of that, I'm pretty pleased with what they've done, from including the two new, the two new guys that they brought on versus the two guys that they let go. I'm impressed by that. Beefed up the offensive line a little bit more, beefed up the defensive line a little bit more. No complaints. No matter.
What we should do, I think we should pay particular homage to each one of these guys. I think to do it the right way, I think you take your time and talk about it. I mean, we got to watch the whole preseason together. Got to watch, didn't watch camp, but we got to hear everything that went on, reports, and we seen some of the results on the field during the preseason. So let's talk about the Hound, man. Let's talk about the Hound in particular. The Hound had a great preseason, and it sounded like he had a pretty good camp to boot. There's a lot of people that might feel like, Kids is probably one of them, that probably felt like he should have made the 53 over North Sewell. But I would argue, I would argue that I think they know what they're doing as far as North Sewell. Whatever's going on with North Sewell, I think they understand. I would just say that. And I'm going to say this. I think North Sewell's performance or lack thereof has everything to do with whatever is ailing him. And they know that at some point he's going to get over it. And they're going to give the player that they've drafted every opportunity to show why they drafted him. It's not that Michael Baskerville didn't deserve it, but I think you still do yourselves. The team did themselves a favor by being able to put him on the practice squad. The fact that he's still here with us, I don't know if he's going to be here all year, but the fact that he's still with us, I think is a boss ass advantage. I would just say that.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. Again, it's really just a question of capital versus no capital, right? They put capital into the drafting of Noah Sewell. They want to see that through. They want to grow that and develop that. I understand it. Did we see much from Noah over the past year and a bit? this offseason, last season. No, we haven't. But that's fine, right? He's still a young man, still growing into his position. And the best part about that situation is, again, the actual depth across the linebacker core. So all in all, probably the least, Probably the least. Let me take that back. I was going to say it's the room I'm worried the least about, but it's not. That's not true. That would definitely be the cornerback room. This is a close second, right? So, they can traditionally put a guy like Michael Baskerville on the practice squad. I was very worried that he would even make it through waiver claims. He made it. We got him. Worst comes to worst, if there's an issue with Noah, we can always pull the kid in. So I'm pleased with where they are.
Don Burr, you hollering about how good y'all's practice squad you got. He said, can we talk about CBS top ranked practice squad and Detroit being ranked number 1?
No, we can't. Hey, why did you even like, you know what I mean? No, we can't talk about that. One team went undefeated throughout the preseason. And Don Burr wants to come up here and have us talk on a Bears show about the Lions practice squad. Hey, man, good luck to the Lions. It's going to be one heck of a season, and it's going to end with an unfortunate reality being a new king in the North.
Hey, B Shep 23 said, got to do an episode on how everybody's sleeping on DJ Moore. I bet you what we're going to be talking about tonight is going to feed right into that B Shep. So stay tuned.
I was just going to say, I'll talk about that 10 times before I'm talking about the Detroit Lions practice squad. That's for damn sure. And on top of that, I really want to talk, let alone DJ Moore. What excites me the most about this upcoming season is the fact the whole world's sleeping on this football team. The whole world. Everybody's a little bit interested, and people are talking, like Nick Wright out there in the world. Nick Wright's talking, and I love what he's saying. There's folks out there talking, but I don't think the NFL really understands what could be coming at them in a couple of days. Man, we're that close. In a couple of days. And if this thing is a real thing and the balance proves to be what Brian and I have been talking about all off season, then holy smokes, NFL be on notice.
Well, listen, I think Michael Baskerville in his time with the Bears, I think this is his second training camp with us, man, and he's improved since the minute we got him. You can see the improvements out there. Quicker to the ball, his instincts are starting to take over, and he's not thinking as much, and he's just out there making plays. Whenever he's on the field, you can see him in the mix of everything. So if you do nothing else, you can say Michael Baskerville earned that practice squad spot at least. You know what I mean? I think we can all agree to that, man. So I appreciate him being there, man. I think that just knowing that he's still there on the team, we've already got a deep room to begin with, man, that's gravy right there, because our linebackers play a key role in that scheme, and really, they really keep it going. They get guys off the field. They get teams off the field. At the end of the day, it's the linebackers most of the times and the DBs that gets teams off the field. So glad to have him here. Hopefully we won't need him, but if knowing that he's there, I feel good about that. And so, at some point or another, it's a linebacker. He probably will see the field, but who knows, man? We hope not. So I'm gonna knock on wood. But
wait a minute.
Oh, you didn't
get Don Berg, you can't say if you rock with Detroit, hit the like button. This is a Bears podcast.
If you rock Chicago Bears, if you're down with the Bears, hit that like button, baby. Trust me.
Hey, what you talking about, Dante? He said, let's talk about the Lions coach being a degenerate gambler, man. Don't make me have to search for you.
Well, that means me and Dan Campbell have something in common, but hey, let's not talk about that at all.
Degenerate or gambler?
I'm just messing around. To be honest with you, at the end of the day, I actually I like Dan Campbell. I like what he's done thus far and what he's brought to Detroit, and that's I also like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'm gonna end it right there. Stop talking about Detroit. Thanks, Don. Thanks for coming out.
Well, I never mind Don trying to ruffle feathers and
Sure,
all that, but to say
Pretty good.
hit the like button if you're a Detroit fan at a Bears podcast, come on.
It was actually brilliant subterfuge, but anyhow, community
Hey, by the way,
organized.
FFG Styles pointing out the fact that they cut Donovan Peoples-Jones, who Chris, RIP, my man Chris Washington, was really high on, somebody that we thought we should have probably picked up with a little free agent money, but Detroit jumped on him, got him. I think they spent a little money on him and still cut him.
Yeah, they spent money on him last season, right? At some point, so they're winding up cutting him for this season. That's fine. What they're also saying is that Jameson Williams is finally coming into his own. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
Speaking of degenerate gamblers, that was beautiful, you guys. That was beautiful. Anyways, you walked right. You know what I mean? You walked right into that one. Yeah. You lined it up.
All right. So here I'm just gonna shut up on this one because somehow, some way, the Eagle got on the team. You got Theo.
Yeah.
Man. We got Theo from Canada, man. I don't know. He must have showed something in camp that they like. Other than that, they kept him here to rehab, and they're gonna, I don't know, cut him when he's done rehabbing. I don't know, but sometimes that happens. There's a reason why his name is in, highlighted, but I don't know if that's the reason why. But I'm just gonna say, that he may have impressed him. Really, I can't say a whole lot about Theo Benedict because I didn't really get to see him, but he apparently impressed them enough, made it to the practice squad. If not, he's going to rehab and they're going to let him go and fill that practice squad with somebody else. I don't know, but I'll listen to you guys. You tell me what you think.
Well, that's not anything that's in orange print. That is rookies.
Okay. That's what it is, huh?
Yes.
All right. Well, he got on there, so I don't know. Hopefully, maybe he got healthy. I don't know. And they like what he brings to the table. He's a big dude, man.
He's probably not all that healthy at this present time. He probably has a little ways to go. Same token, I would not have expected him to really be a contributor on the 2024 Chicago Bears offensive line. Just being real, they have a decent amount of depth there, which I think is a surprise to all of us. I like the depth on that offensive line. That being said, I think this kid is very talented. I know that he's played at a very high level in university. I've watched a lot of his snaps. To me, it's just a question of him putting that all together and performing on an NFL stage. I believe he's probably going to be a guard as opposed to an actual tackle. I think that's just because he's a little bit more svelte, and that's the word I'm going to use. Feel free to use that on your own time. In any event, he's a little bit slimmer than you might want an offensive lineman to be. He also plays with very high pad level for an offensive lineman. Those are my little takeaways for Theo. I think he's got some development to undertake, but I think he'll get there, and I think he's really going to contribute to the depth of that offensive line down the road.
Well, obviously the kid's got talent. He 2-time whatever award for top offensive lineman in Canada. I mean, they just ain't putting those out on the assembly line. I really don't expect anything this year, and he don't have to. Let him get and the rest of these rookies too. Let them get a year of NFL practice, training camp, learn how to practice, how to take notes, all that, and let next year be when they're actually on the team. This is almost like an apprenticeship, being on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, one thing I know about these guys that I'm going to express this to everybody that's watching, listening, anybody that's listening to an audio pod, anybody that's watching the show but not chatting. One thing that I've come and become understood on is these guys mean what they say when they say they find a guy and they start developing them. Mm-hmm. And they go through and be honest with you, the coaching aspect of development is important. If they are pouring into these players the way that they say they are when they do these pressures, you have to believe them when they say we believe in development, because you got guys around on this roster that people feel like, oh, we've seen enough of them, the fans, we've seen enough of this, we've seen enough of that, and not really understanding why they're keeping guys around. They're developing, and they believe in their process and the people that they put in place in charge of development. They're showing them, if the people that are developing these players go to the coaches and say, hey man, listen, I know that we could probably go to the draft and look for some more guys, but I think we get this guy to another training camp, I think you'll see a significant difference in what he can bring to the table. And I think sometimes it does take 2 or 3 years before a player really starts to blossom into what they can become on an NFL roster, because it's not sweet walking in from college, and unless you're an elite athlete, an elite football player, I mean, absolutely elite as a human being, you're going to be a standard player in the NFL, and it's going to take some development for you to get yourself an edge. And so for that part, I really respect what they do. I really do, because if you're going to pour into these guys, at least give them the opportunity to see what can come out of it. So as far as Theo Benedict goes, he's one of the newer people to that development process. I like to see him stick around if they like him. I'd like to see what comes out of another training camp, at least, of what Theo Benedict can do. So good to see him on the roster, man. Hopefully it works out. He rehabs well, and maybe, who knows, he can make it up to the 53. We don't know. But all right, so Steven Carlson is number 88. That guy had one of the better preseasons of anybody on the team. Of a lot of people on the team, he's probably in that top 5. He's probably in the top 5. He had a very good preseason, and I don't think there was ever any chance of him making the 53. But the fact that he got on the I think he's one of those guys that they if they could, they'd have him on the roster on the 53, but they just can't find a place to put him. But I think that dude should be on the 53. He's as good in this preseason as damn near any tight end we have on the roster. He was pretty good, man. But I'll pass it on to Kez and let him speak from there.
I actually thought he might have made the team. I'll counter that. I thought he might make the team if they ultimately decided to move away from a fullback and roster more tight ends. I thought he also played admirably, and this is in agreement with what Nomad is saying. I thought he played very well. And considering that if they decided to move away from a fullback Curry Blasingame, then Steven Carlson would not be a terrible guy to keep on the roster. So I'm very glad that they have him on the practice squad. I would not be surprised if somebody poaches him. I'll be frank there as well. If a tight end gets hurt elsewhere in the league, I would not be surprised if he winds up somewhere else playing for somebody else. But, same token, if somebody does go down with injury on our team, great access to a great tight end. So I liked everything that I saw from Steven Carlson this offseason. So glad he stuck around. Brian?
Yeah, I thought he had a good camp, and I could say that about all the tight ends that was here. I thought they all did well. Pretty much everything that you said, Ken, I felt the same.
Yeah.
How they was going to keep, whether or not they kept Blasingame or not, was the big key. You've seen what Waldron did in Seattle, used 3 tight ends. So having, a 4th tight end on your 53 kind of made sense. So, it kind of, covered you in case of an injury. I'm happy that they kept Carlson. But really, any one of the 3 I would have been happy with. So luckily they kept one of them. Nomad?
Yeah, Carlson, I think probably a lot of other rosters would have made the 53, be quite honest with you. But we've got 3, I would say, stud tight ends. One tight end that we have is a particular kind of tight end. Mercedes Lewis. There's a lot of people. I don't know. Can he beat Mercedes Lewis? I don't know. Mercedes Lewis could have went to any team he wanted to, but he chose to come back to Chicago because they have a role for him that they covet. They really respect his leadership and what he brings to the table on and off that field. And so there was no way Mercedes Lewis was not going to make this roster unless he got hit by a car somewhere. He was going to make this roster. And so, unfortunately, Steven Carlson is the low-end beneficiary of it and got on the practice squad. Hopefully we can keep him because he's a hell of a depth piece, and I like what he brings to the table, man. I think maybe next year, if Mercedes Lewis retires, he has a spot on this roster on the 53 and not a practice squad. I think, there are conversations to be had inside of those cut-down days that we'll never be privy to unless they decide to put out a damn documentary or something. But I would imagine they had some real high praise for him and what he can bring to the table. And if for whatever reason Mercedes Lewis doesn't come back next year, I bet he's the top guy that they would like to fill that role, man, because Steven Carlson was nice this preseason, man, really nice. And I'm just glad to see him on the depth. Hopefully we can keep him around. Here's another guy, though. But hey, before I say something else, let me speak to Don Burr and everybody in the Nomad that's a part of the Nomad Network, the members, everybody that's subscribed. Let me explain some things. Don Burr is irritating as hell. He is extremely irritating.
It's a good explanation so far. Continue.
To some people take that as, Don Burr's an asshole. I don't want him around. I get all that. But one thing I learned about him, and he did give me a compliment there, and I'm not saying what I'm saying because of that, but I just want to put it in perspective because, he's constantly here. I used to think the same thing about him. I'm like, man, why the fuck do anybody deal with Don Burr? Why don't you just?
I've had that thought too. Continue.
But you know what I found out?
Kick out of him.
You know what I found out, kids? He just likes to talk noise. Not only that cat knows football. That cat knows football. He's just going to be here and irritate you. He's not going to stop doing that, but he does know football. I had enough conversation with him to know that. Like, I know I'm talking to a real football person. Like, if I got him one-on-one and we were just kicking it around, talking about a player or two, what you think about this college player, that college player, how he fits into your roster versus ours, I know we can have a real conversation. And so for that, I respect Don, you know what I mean? And him coming into the chat, keeping everybody arguing and fussing and fighting, man, don't pay no attention to that. Don is here to irritate you. But I have a certain level of respect, and he gained that respect from me. I didn't just give it to him. I just wanted to put that out there.
I'm sorry, I gotta laugh because Don says like, kids, can I terrorize your show? So I'll expect some Don Burr terror in my chat as well. Anyhow, y'all, look, me, Don, and Nomad go back into the chat many moons ago. And I remember cussing Don left, right, and center, up and down, talking about Detroit water, all kinds of mean Detroit slander, versus obviously Don's regular brand of Chicago Bears slander. And we're going back and forth, and Nomad kind of stuck up for him a little bit. Oh, leave him alone. And I'm like, F Don Burr. And we kind of go back and forth. But this is years ago now. So the fact that Don is still around and still doing his thing, I gave up a long time trying to get him banned from Bears chat.
Hey, kids, you know what?
He's welcome.
I can talk to your average person in the chat room. I can talk to your average person, even if we're not doing the show. I'm talking about if I was on another show, we could be talking about a whole lot of different stuff, particular things. I could talk to average people, and I could tell, and I never look down on nobody for not really knowing what they're. If I don't think they know what they're talking about, I'm not going to tell you, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I'm going to be polite about it. But when I talk to them and we kick it back and forth about a player or two, what you think about this? Actually, we talked about Noah Sewell before he even got drafted here. And he asked me that I think he was a fit. Now I'm just like, no, I don't think so. I think he's long enough, but he's bulky. He looked a little bit bulky, and I didn't think he would be able to, he could move well enough until I started studying the tape. And I really started studying his tape, and I was just like, okay, all right, I get it. So I'm just putting it out there. Don does know football, and you can argue with him all you want to. He knows football. I'm just gonna say that. And I got respect for that. Because that's the shit I look forward to.
Anyways, I appreciate you, Don, even though you wreak havoc in the chat. I also love very much the no maniacs out there who who eat your lunch. So there's that as well. Anyways, y'all, who we at? We're at my guy Byron Coward.
Yes. You go ahead. You can speak first if you want to.
I think I'm going to. So right next to Steven Carlson, I think he probably had this. He probably had the next best preseason. I'll say Baskerville, then Carlson, then Byron Coward. I thought he played extremely well in his position. I thought he played much, and I brought up Jalen Hutchins earlier on. I thought he played much better than Jalen Hutchins, right? Like if I had to pick between Hutchins and Coward all day long. If I had to pick between Coward and Mallory, Coward all day long. The guy's really good at what he does on that line. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that he's not on the 53. I thought he was sound.
Talking about Mallory?
No, Byron Coward. I thought he might make the 53. I'll be honest with you there. I thought they might load up one more lineman, and with the way that the kid was playing in the preseason, it proved to me that that he's caliber. He's high caliber, and I thought he might make the team given the way that he was performing out there.
You know what?
And if you look at his film speaks to all that too.
It makes me think. Now, this is just, it could be just a formality is where I'm going. Why I say that is because they signed I think Williams, that guy Williams is, he's going to be a part of this roster. But the guy, Sam Roberts, that they just signed, kids, that guy Sam Roberts from the Patriots, I think that was interesting that they signed him directly to the roster, which made me think they needed somebody for week 1. And maybe something's wrong with Byron Coward, and this was their best way to do that, was to put him on a practice squad for a week. But I don't know,
Bro, I'm sorry. I gotta go back to the chat here. So first of all, how do I approach
I already know where you're going, man.
I'm trying to approach this professionally here. Well, you didn't have to do that. That's what paused me. I was trying to do that. I was just going to go with the last name. I wasn't going to incorporate the first name because the first name makes it all make sense. But anyhow, long story short, he says his real last name is Mihoff, which is hilarious. The funniest part there is Bearsky Films. So Mr. Mihoff was asking. He was asking about Don Burr, and he was saying, "Hey, does anybody know what Don Burr looks like?" And I was like, "What? Like, do you have pictures, bro? You got pictures? Like, sure." And Bearsky Film gave me a sound warning, which I appreciate, and it was, "Dude, you're asking a guy named Mihawk, last name Mihawk for pictures." And anyhow,
Kansas is a perpetual third grader. That's why,
bro, it's hilarious. I've totally used that particular name with the police on 2 separate occasions. It worked, and it worked in my favor. That much. I'm still here to tell the story, so we're good. But cheers to you, Mr. Mihawk. We'll leave it there.
Man. So Byron Coward, I thought definitely should have made this team. I think he was probably the second best 3-tech in the preseason behind Javon Dexter.
Yeah.
I don't think it was even close, Byron, I mean, even Zach Pickens, I would say that he outperformed him. We had a couple other guys. We had Mallory that played a little bit of 2. I mean, played a little bit of 3, played a little bit of 1, back and forth. Same thing with Randolph. Same thing, back and forth. and he was the second best 3-tech we had on the team. But of course, they're going to go with Zach Pickens because Zach Pickens is the guy they're developing, right? Also, I think that the fact that they brought another guy in to play and sign him directly to the 53-man roster makes me think Byron Cowart is recovering from something. I don't see any other reason why this happened. But what say
That's a good, dude. That's a really good call, Brian. What do you think?
Well, the weird thing is, Coward and Williams both come from the Patriots, and the Patriots hang on to Williams longer. So what's that tell you? To me, in the offseason, Coward, he played great. I agree with Nomad. He was probably the second best 3-tech behind Dexter.
I agree.
And with this injury to Pickens, I haven't heard exactly what it is or how long it may take for him to heal. I'm a little surprised that Coward didn't make it, but at the same time, getting that Sam Williams. So it could be interesting.
See, because of the Pickens injury, that's why I thought the Cowart would have made the team. That was the exact reason.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought Sam over. I think you're Nomad. I think you're probably bang on with the guests there. I think Cowart's probably hurt, and that would explain the why behind bringing in a Williams. This way, you covered off a Byron Cowart issue. You've also backed up Zach Pickens at the same time. Away you go, right? So I think you're probably bang on with that call. That's a good call, bro.
Hopefully, I think that's what it is, but I'm just out here speculating. But that seemed to make the most sense to me. But here we go out here at offensive tackle. Jake Curran, who took a lot of backup snaps to Darnell Wright. So he played, most of his snaps came on the right side, and the right side was very quiet. Looking at that film, man, they were looking at. I would just say this: I've heard Ryan Poles on 2 or 3 different interviews since the preseason ended, and he was asked, couple 2 or 3 different times how he felt about this depth on this roster, and he felt pretty good. And I know that he's the GM and he needs to breathe a certain level of confidence into the fan base, but I'm watching him speak and I'm feeling what he's saying. I'm saying that Jake Curran on this roster, he looked good, very good in the preseason. That you didn't see on film a whole bunch of guys screaming past him, beating him on the inside, beating him around, and he got some snaps on the left-hand side too. So he I would say he earned his spot as well. And I like to see that because that's one of my my biggest concerns is, your swing tackle. Because obviously Larry Bourne is your swing tackle. We were worried about him towards the end of at the very end of the preseason. He got hurt, but I think he's on his way back he's still on the 53 right now. I think is he IR scheduled to return week 1? I don't know. I don't know the latest on that, but Jake Curran, I believe, I think they found something in him. I think he could be your second. He's got to be the second swing tackle to Larry Bourne. He's got to be. Because if Larry can't go, he's going to be the guy that gets called up. Just telling you right now.
Well, that depends on what Karan's health is.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't coming up. They ain't putting him. He's not the backup swing tackle yet. I think he will be. I don't think he had enough reps to jump that guy, Jake Curran, man. He had too many reps.
He made the team. One's on the team, the other's not.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be on the team because they've got to protect him. Got to remember that if they got him on the 53, there's a reason for that. That doesn't mean he's going to play right away.
Well, remember, Pryor can play 4 of the 5 offensive line positions.
Yeah.
There's depth there, like in a worst case scenario, Tevin Jenkins can do it too. You know, there's some depth there. I liked how Curran played during the preseason. I have to say he played very well, but I think he's a far cry. I think he's a far cry before Karan. I think we'll see a healthy Karan and a healthy Larry Borum before we really get to looking at Jake. And I want to knock on wood on that because I really hope what we have this season is a little bit of luck. And what I mean by that is I hope, I'm hoping that the trenches are healthy this season, especially that offensive line.
What do you? I'd be willing to bet money that if, and I'm knocking on wood again, that if one of the tackles gets nicked up and he's not able to go, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna put Doug Kramer on the practice squad and they're gonna elevate one of these tackles. Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's a possibility.
Until Kieran Amagaji is ready, they'll demote Doug Kramer and elevate one of these guys. But when Kieran is ready, then they won't have a need to do that. But until then, I think like if this happens in the first 3-4 weeks, I'm almost willing to bet you they'll elevate Kieran and put Doug Kramer on the practice squad again.
That's a really good call, man. Wouldn't have thought about that. End of the day, he is semi-expendable, right? Like I hate to say that, Doug. I'm sorry, but I mean, you're versatile, and that's the flip side of all this. You can do a whole bunch of different things. One of the things you're probably not the best at is being a offensive tackle. So, that being the case, if tackle is a requirement, then I'm in full agreement with you. We might see a Doug Kramer here.
I think they're being slippery, man. I think they kept that. The 53 that way to have a guy expendable. Like we were talking about, why would they keep this many guys or that many guys? I think that's a crafty move to know that you may have to practice squad one of these 53 guys to elevate somebody to cover for Kieran in case Kieran's not ready to go in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, right?
Yeah, like we're already having that conversation, and not to curtail where we are, but there's also the long snapper issue. They're going to have to be a little bit creative with the guys that they have on the 53 and on this practice squad to make things line up the right way. Brian, you're saying?
Oh, I was just going to say, with how Flutes has built this team, I mean, the two things that stick out in my mind is everybody on both sides of the ball have a high motor where you go 100% and also having flexibility or being versatile. You think about the guys that he got in free agency and lately these trades, it isn't just one specific spot and that's all that they play. Also with Jake, he's got a couple experience working with Waldron. I'm sure that plays in the back of the mind too.
Yeah.
And he would be something that, unless a team during the season got hurt, is probably not going to poach him off the practice squad because he is 27 years old.
Yeah. I think there's some calculation going on here. And I just spoke to that. I do believe Kieran Amagaji is eventually he's actually going to challenge Braxton Jones at some point or another for that job. But right now, his role is to contribute when he's able to, when he is 100% ready to. But until then, Jake Kieran on the practice squad and Kieran Amagaji on the 53 is a calculated move, in my opinion, and I think a good one, to be honest with you. Hopefully we can keep Kieran along, long enough to be able to use him if we need him. But, yeah, I like the move. I like how he played, man. He had a pretty good preseason, man. Kept Caleb pretty clean. So I really do like this 16. It's reason to be real hopeful for this depth that we have on the 16. But on to the next guy, who is Samori Toure. And I'm going to save, because I bet you guys, I'm going to say this, kids, before I pass it to you. The only reason he is out here is because they have a pretty good Green Bay has a pretty good receiving core and it's deep.
Okay, that was a 2 cent. I got nothing on Samori Toure. I'll be completely frank here. I don't know why you like. I wouldn't be checking for wide receivers right now, to be completely frank, unless it's more of a situation where you're crippling Green Bay to some capacity. So, like, I'm always down with that. You know what I mean? If Toure was expected to perform
He
in
also has
any
a playbook.
there you go, right? Like if that's what you're doing here, I'm with it. I'm with that. Counter espionage. I'm full go with counter espionage.
Well, if
But
that's the case, then we got to worry about Minnesota because they got Ripken.
well,
Yeah.
that's huge. Actually,
That's very poignant right there, Brian. That's the truth.
that's huge. Yeah.
No, Samari Toure is somebody on a lesser roster would be on a 53-man team. He'd be on a 53-man roster. He's good enough, and I think he's got a skill set to him that fits what we do. Number one, they play in the same system that we do, just different verbiage. And him being on the practice squad gives him a week or 2-3 weeks to really, really get what he needs to get in order to be able to perform on 53. I'm gonna be honest with you. As a receiver, they're counting on Tyler Scott to be able to perform and be a real contributor to this team. If Tyler Scott's not consistent, there's a viable option right there. And I'm knocking on wood right now and hoping Tyler Scott is everything we thought he could be, because I start to see it towards the end of the preseason. I start to see what Tyler Scott can and could be. But I think this is also a very interesting move in that regard. Vegas is going to be one of those flex players. He's going to flex in and out of the wide receiver room. He's going to be probably more running back than he is receiver. He's going to be like basically an X factor on this team. He's going to add another layer to the dynamic of the offense and what it can do out of the backfield, what you can do with him at receiver. But they're expecting Tyler Scott to be a strong contributor to what this receiving core can do. But if he can't, I think this is a solid piece to really give insurance to what Tyler Scott is supposed to bring to this team.
Yeah, I hear you on the Tyler Scott situation. I just personally think that they would probably pull up a Colin Johnson before a Toure, but that's because I'll be totally honest about this. That's because I've actually seen Colin Johnson. I've never watched Toure. I don't know what the draw is there. Do you feel that he's sort of styled similarly to a Tyler Scott?
In a way, he's just bigger. In a way, he's just big. He's not anywhere near as fast as Tyler.
Okay,
but he's in the neighborhood. But you gotta consider the espionage factor too. I mean, you can't rule that out. There's an espionage factor going on as far as what he can bring to the table there. But he's also he could be an added piece to what we do if he can learn all three spots, the X spot, the Z spot, the slot receiver spot, and learn every one of those calls. It's going to take him 2 or 3 weeks to do that. And so it's going to take Tyler Scott 2 or 3 weeks to show whether he should be on this roster or not, if we can count on him or not. In the eventuality that he can't, knocking on wood, we have him to replace him. Because Tyler Scott's got to be a factor. He's got to be a factor. If one of these guys goes down, he's the next man up. They're going to work.
I'll go another conspiracy. Say Velas does well at running back. Do they get rid of Homer, put Velas there, and then you've got the 2 wide receivers that are on practice squad to choose from, whichever one you want to fill the 6th spot?
Well, did you see the little statement I gave to kids in the group chat? There's a reason why Travis Homer is on this team. And I'm just gonna say
there
that.
may be. That don't mean I have to agree with it.
I'm just saying, man. We on the outside looking in, but just check out what I told kids. Go check out Hightower's statement about who he is on this team and what he brings to this team. And I bet you think different about him after that. I guarantee.
See, so I don't have a negative view of Travis Homer, and this was sort of my response to Nomad. It's got nothing to do with him in particular, right? What he puts on the field as a running back is pretty lackluster, and I think everybody and their mom can agree with that. That does not mean what he puts on film as a special teamer is lackluster. I don't really get to see that very often, again, unless I'm watching it from last season's games, under which he played very well as a special teamer. So the coaches are seeing something that I'm not seeing. I just have to agree with it. Is what it is. They think he's a special teamer. That's why he's on the
Right.
50.
And at the end of the day, it's not about whether we agree with each other. We think he should be on the team or not. Just listen to what they say, and that's enough for me.
Well, that's true about any player then that's on the team.
Well, yeah, Brian. What I'm saying to you is, if you listen to that interview, it would make more sense to why they keep him here and why they think he's worth the money they're giving him. That's all I'm saying. What we say on the outside and what
now you went too far.
Okay, then why can't I not agree?
What's that?
Why can't I not agree?
No, you can though, Brian. You can definitely have your own opinion on whatever on
That's
on
all
anything.
I'm willing to end the discussion.
You know what I'm saying? On anything
I'm getting all sensitive, man.
He's not. He's being.
I'm just giving you what we've been talking a whole lot of shit on.
I'm getting sensitive.
Yeah, very. And we've been talking a lot of shit on these podcasts, and it's been a lot of bold statements being made on these podcasts, which is why I love doing this stuff with you guys, because everybody has no problem speaking their mind about what they think about this guy, that guy. That's what makes it fun. But when one of the coaches goes out and gives you a definitive reason why a guy makes the roster and explains that thoroughly, to me, that just nullifies everything. Like, you understand now, you know what I mean? So all the shit we was talking was for nothing.
And so like it wasn't, and why the agreement that I have with Brian on this, where I agree with Brian, is strictly on a dollars and cents level, and I think that's really where his mind is. Early into the season, we identified a couple of, and the rest is, again, is he going to perform as a running back? And that answer is also no. Like, I'm with you. You know what I mean? And just to clarify, Homer and Borum were the two, and like they're both with the team. It's very interesting. They're the two guys who had the most obvious large contracts with easy exits this offseason. Bears decided to keep them both. I'm with it. The Larry Borum situation, I was a little bit worried if they really were going to move off of him. I'll be straight up on that one. If they were going to move off of Larry, I'm like, Karan better be up. Oh, Karan's hurt. Yeah. Just pay the kid. You pay the man his money, right? Which then leads me back to Travis Homer, and for me, the disconnect for me is just like, you could probably find another special teams body at a lower price tag. And that's where I am with it. But again, there's probably more to this story that we don't see. So I'm not, it doesn't irk me either way. Got to be a lot more. He may be a leader in that room. He may be a leader on the team as it stands, and we just don't get the opportunity to know the difference. So
all I'm saying is, as a fan, I'm not educated enough to manage a general manager's salary cap. I believe what they say when they say it, why they do what they do, and to me, that's the end of it. I don't think no more of it. I don't have any hard feelings towards the fact that they believe Travis, this is how he makes his living. And so I'll just leave that there, man. It's just where it is. We could talk about
there ain't gonna be no flying in this zone this year, bro. Be very afraid, bro.
I ain't worried about it. Colin Johnson, here's a guy that you were talking about a whole lot. You thought he made the team in week 1, kids, but
I was just making.
I'll pass it on to you.
I mean? I was just giving the kid a little bit of benefit of the doubt, and unfortunately, he never got the chance to play again. So here he is on the practice squad once more, basically fulfilling the exact story that he gave us on Hard Knocks week 1. My story is I tend to get hurt a lot. I'm really good. I get opportunities. I maximize on those opportunities, and then I basically get hurt again. And here we are. So I'm glad that they're able to keep 6'6" of speed and length on this practice squad. I hope he gets an opportunity to shine in the season at some point. But me saying stuff like that also means that a wide receiver got hurt. So I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris, because I didn't even think about Simba, man. I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm straight. Again, glad they kept him. I would have been very upset to see him perform with another team, right? So I'm pleased with him right where he is. Hopefully, he gets the opportunity to contribute in some capacity. Right?
I think he has a lot of talent. Like I said, that height. You know, how many 6'6" wide receivers do you see? But since Texas and being a pro, injury has been his downfall, unfortunately. I hope for his sake that he could put that behind him, because he's a hell of a weapon, if nothing else, red zone.
Well, I do think
I think he'd be a red zone monster too.
I'm not going to take away what he was able to provide as far as what they see in practice, what they saw in the preseason games. You know, we only got to see a portion of it. They really value what these guys show in practice. If as a fan, if you don't know that about this regime by now, I don't think you've been paying close enough attention. What they get out of these guys in practice is a lot more important than what they see in a preseason game. Because this next guy we're talking about right here is Tavarius Moore, who showed maybe glimpses in the first 2-3 preseason game, but in that last one, you saw a whole lot more of Tarvarius Moore. Tarvarius Moore really stuck out on that last preseason game, and they had to keep a safety for depth. And if they were going to keep one, a lot of people would say that number 25, I can't think of his name right off the top of my head right now, with the good story on Hard Knocks, would have probably been. I think his name's Adrian Colbert.
That's it. Yeah, you got it.
So a lot of people would be like, "Hey, man, you know, Adrian Colbert showed me a little bit more." But on the interior, in the box, I think Tarvarius Moore. You just got to look at some tape. I can give you all kinds of explanations, but if you look at the tape, I think he was the more sure tackler in the box when they slid him down in the box and he had to make one-on-one tackles. I think Tarvarius Moore was better at it than Adrian Colbert. Adrian Colbert has range like nobody's business. Like the way he tracked that ball from A to B to get to that ball, to be able to break that ball up, that was a highlight. That's range. That's being able to go from 0 to point of contact and make a play on the ball. That kind of range is rare. Not every safety in the league can do that. And so in that department, I would say Adrian Colbert had the advantage. But when it came down to playing in the box and being a sure tackler and making sure the play stopped with you, Tarvarius Moore won it in that department. So I would say good job to Tarvarius Moore. You beat out a very rangy safety, and maybe you showed a little bit more than he did.
Well, first off, Don Bird don't think we have a no-fly zone in Chicago, and I'm just going to sort of let Don Bird know, if you don't think we have a no-fly zone in Chicago, you're sleeping, right? I can't wait till your team shows up here and they realize, oh, snap, ain't nothing going in the air in Illinois. So, if we're talking about Tarvarius Moore and his ability as a safety, my guy can tackle. My guy reads the ball. He reads the quarterback. I actually really appreciated what he put on tape. Not just that last game that you're talking about, Nomad, because he was effective in that last game, but he was also very effective in the game before too. So the last 2 preseason games, Tavares Moore got a lot of run. I'm putting out the second to last game because that was the game where Kevin Byard was out. Sorry, yeah, Kevin Byard. No, John Owens. My bad. John Owens was out to Paris doing the whole Olympics thing, so he got a little bit of additional run. He was all over the place, and I'm like, who is this Moore kid? And he was playing lights out. So, any more like? Just look at the two. Look at the 2 guys. There's just 3. We got 3 guys here from the secondary on this practice squad, and all 3 of them are really good. Can't wait to talk about the next guy though. But Don, beware, bro. Jared Goff's in trouble this season, bro. Against Chicago, he's in trouble.
I skipped the guy. I gotta go back to Roe Torrance. I think his measurables and what he brings to the table in the passing game and in the run game, he was equally efficient. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say that he was a shutdown corner when balls came his way, no, but I do think that they feel like they can work with that length and what he can bring to the table when it comes to finishing plays. And that's, you hear Foos talk about that shit all the time. How do you finish? Roe Torrance is very long, very, very long, and they like long cornerbacks. And if they can have a really long cornerback for some more depth, that just helps a 4-3 base defense get better. You know, because if your cornerbacks are long, it's just more of a, let's just say, the quarterback is going to have a more, he's going to be less effective at completing balls and throwing balls over, you know, heads and zones. You know, there's a reason why you need long corners in this scheme, because it's a lot of holes and zones, and you need lengthy DBs to be able to play that, right? So there's a reason why they do, you know, really value length, and that's one of the reasons. So that's probably the primary thing or the primary reason why Roe Torrance is still on this team. So go ahead and take it from there. It says length.
That actually makes a lot of sense because Roe Torrance did not jump out to me during the preseason, I have to admit. He made a couple of really nice plays, but he didn't jump out to me, I'll be frank. That being said, he's built a little bit different than the rest of the core, so I can see that being a reason to keep him just for differentiation, right? But, Brian, thoughts?
Well, I mean, you two hit the nail on the head with his size and length. That's a different than the rest. Everybody else is, you know, that 5'10" to 5'11", maybe just under 6 foot, and he's what, 6'1", 6'2", something like that.
Close to 6'3".
Yeah. So I mean that extra length gives you something. He's got a little bit, you know, a weight to him as well. I'm curious to see with him and Moore what Hoke and Curtis is able to get out of him, because I think we have the best secondary coach in the league.
I would say secondary coach is Brian, plural, because I believe David Overstreet is a key factor in that room. I think he's probably the most slept on assistant on the team, to be quite honest with you. I think David Overstreet is the heartbeat of that whole crew in that DB room, man. I saw that on Hard Knocks. I see certain things as a DB, and I see a coach talking and his energy, and I can sense that, you know, even though what's the guy that's been here that was here the other stint with the Bears, Brian, the DB coach, the actual DB coach. What's his name again?
Andre Curtis or John Hoke?
John Hoke. John Hoke. Every position coach has his understudy.
Mm-hmm.
Every position coach has their understudy. And I'm telling you, David Overstreet, remember that name. If John Hoke decides to retire, it's going to be because David Overstreet is really emerging. I'm telling you, man, he's got the heartbeat of that room. I'm telling you, man. Hope knows what he's doing, but David Overstreet has that energy. And Ro Torrance, you just have to think about it this way, guys. Think about it. Just simply think about if your base defense is a zone concept. Zone concepts have holes in them. And so there's going to be every NFL quarterback knows where they are. And if you're a really good one, if you're a really, really good quarterback, you know the timing of when those holes will come open. And they take advantage of it. You've seen Green Bay quarterbacks do that to us for years. And the truth is, the longer your DBs are and your linebackers, the less likely the chances are of those holes, really, really existing. They're going to think twice about that because you have length. And Ro Torrance fits that bill. Terrell Smith, all these guys, man, even Tyreek Stevenson. Jalen Jones isn't the lengthiest cornerback, but he's damn good in coverage. But they really value length, and you do need that in a 4-3 zone-based scheme because there are holes in the defense, and we're going to be complaining about that when teams are marching on us, and then when we straighten up and kind of constrict and kind of get guys off the field. But I'm telling you, zone defenses aren't the funnest thing to watch, right? They're not the funnest thing to watch, and it looks like you're getting picked apart when you play too much of it. But when you have lengthy guys, you lessen the opportunities for the quarterback. So just wanted to put that out there. Ro Torrance is we will definitely talk about this a little bit more as the season goes. But Ro Torrance fits the bill, man. I know why he's on the team. But here we go to the next guy. Who are we at? We at Jamry Chroma. Now, when you talk about when I started this conversation about believing in the development, and when they see something in a guy, they think they know what they have with Jamry Chroma. And I don't think edge rusher right now was it. But do they want to work with him to try to turn him into that edge rusher, or do they want to slide him in the middle and start working with him on the inside? I'd be curious to know if Jamry Chroma got called up, what's the first assignment they gave him? So let's just say, for instance, next time or if Zach Pickens went down again, if they call him up, or if something happened to Austin Booker, would they call him up? Would they call him up as the extra edge? I don't know. I want to know what they think of Jamry Chroma. I'd love to sit around and talk with Flus about what they think he's capable of, because turning the corner as an edge and that toolsy edge that you see in Austin Booker already is nowhere to be found in Jamry Chroma. Do they see him as an interior guy primarily or an edge guy? That's what I want to know, but I'll hand it to you from here.
Jeez. Yeah, this is one of the few that I'm not sure why he's on this practice squad. I'll be completely frank. He didn't show a lot with the opportunity to show. 59, if you guys watch preseason just like I watched the preseason, you didn't see a whole heck of a lot of 59. You just didn't. And, to that degree, it kind of is what it is. I'm just not I don't know why he's here at all. My thoughts here is they've got some really interesting developmental talent on the roster. I'm not sure what they're really going to do with Chroma unless, again, somebody gets hurt. And I'm saying this completely facetiously because if somebody gets hurt, they have 7 defensive ends, right? Like there's 7 of them. I think they're fine with a rotation regardless as to injury or anything. I don't know, man, but we'll see how he develops and what he turns into this time next year. But I honestly, I don't see him getting any shine or
I don't see it this year, kid. I really do think they knew what they were doing when they scooped him up as a UDFA. What you saw on film, what everybody got to see on film was real. It's just him stepping up that level of competition. He didn't meet that. I think he ran into the resistance and he didn't have an answer on the next level. And I think he's going to have to work through that. If that makes any sense to you, to step up competition, I think he probably caught him off guard, and he knows he has to get in his bag and work.
So I'm gonna say one more thing before we step away from Jeremy, and I'll throw it up to Brian there. But if these guys don't not only work out but excel, they're drafting an edge rusher in the next draft. So, you know, I honestly I don't see what even development would do in it for a Jeremy Chroma. I just don't.
I do. I think he just needs time.
My point being, time's an important resource, right? If you can basically cut time by drafting a top end, then you don't have to develop Jeremy Chroma.
Well, look at it this way. You have to
these guys turn out.
You have to look at that the exact opposite way too. So if they can get a lesser held guy, get a guy late, and really lean into the development of a guy, then you don't really need to draft guys high. You know, you can trade down, and I think there's beauty in that. If you have there's something. Hold on, before you say something, kids.
Yeah, I'm letting you
really
go.
Good about what the Patriots did under Bill Belichick, what the Ravens did under John Harbaugh, and what the Steelers do. They take guys that really everybody's like, what are you doing? Why are you trading your higher round draft guys and drafting late? It's because they have a farm system going on. It's almost like the MLB. If you can develop it right, if your farm staff is right, and you can get the right players in your farm system, you've got a really good pipeline going on. You've got a really good pipeline going on, and I believe in that. I believe you take guys. I don't care where you get them, whether you're drafting them or you didn't draft them, you got them as a UDFA. If your system is right and you can work that, there's gold there. It really is. I think what you saw in Jeremy Chroma and what excited you about Jeremy Chroma in the offseason and before the preseason happened is still there. He's got to get it out on this level. And I think he ran into the resistance that kind of scared everybody off of him. I think is the best way to describe that.
So, first thing to say is Willie McGinnis, right? Like the Patriots did what they did with a linchpin Hall of Fame top defensive end on that team, period, right? Like everything else was built around him, and that includes Tom Brady. To move away from the Patriots because I hate them. I said that out loud. So to move away from them and look at where we're at, I just see the development in edge rusher going to the guys who showed out this preseason, and those guys include Dominique Robinson, right? Like I consider him sort of the bottom of that. But I think Dominique showed us some different things that we didn't see in the previous few years. And that is speed. That is a few more pass rush moves than he ever had. But more importantly, utilization of that speed in the run game. So he's going to be a dangerous run stuffer, and I'm here for that. Hardy and Booker go without saying. Their trajectory is straight up. Their arrows pointing up. They can only basically get better than where they stood from this preseason. So I'm excited to watch both of those guys develop, and they're going to put a lot of resources, time, energy, and effort into developing those two guys along with Dominique Robinson. That's three guys. I just don't see them spending too much time on developing a Chroma, because if they cannot succeed with those three guys, we have a problem, and they're going to draft a top-end edge.
Kid,
right?
I think it's about they're trying to figure out whether he's an outside guy or an inside guy primarily. I think that's what they're trying to figure out.
And that's fair. Like, if he is an inside guy, all the more reason to keep him as more or less a depth piece for DeMarcus Walker, right? Like that's sort of the way that I would look at it. I get it, but I just don't see a lot of development happening with Chroma, considering.
I think he's Dominique Robinson's the MF over his shoulder. If he starts to develop, he's the guy that if I was Dominique Robinson, I would be worried about.
Like there's all kinds of additional reasons for Dominique Robinson to be worried. I don't think it's Jamie Chroma. And
I do because he's right at, and he's toolsier than Dominique Robinson. That's the bad thing for Dominique Robinson. He's much more toolsy than Dominique Robinson. And so if he starts to really perform, and maybe the preseason and his training camp wasn't enough for him to start kind of hit that learning curve and bend it a little bit. If he starts bending that in the next few weeks, fucking be honest with you, Dominique Robinson can become expendable.
So I'm going to agree.
What they do in practice, man.
I'm going to agree and disagree here. So the thing about Dom Rob is he's similar to a Doug Kramer on this squad, right? He is at the bottom portion of the squad, and if you're looking at a situation where you got to make moves, like your long snapper's hurt, and you got to put a new long snapper on there, but you don't really, you know what I'm saying? Dominique Robinson is the other guy on the defense that they might have to flip-flop. So, I'll put that factor out there too. Like I said, I just don't see it being a Jamry Chroma thing. I think Dom Rob's in jeopardy of simple things like injury elsewhere within the team.
Yeah, I get you. Brian, what's in you, bro?
Oh, I got a lot of things to say, and both of you guys made some good points. Getting with Chroma, I don't know who's to say he's shown them in practice what they was looking for, and they didn't want to play him a lot, knowing that they're going to put him on the practice squad because he does need training, and at the same time, they don't want him to get poached. That's a possibility.
That is a possibility as well. Well stated. I agree.
And also what Nomad said about doing like how New England did it, trading picks and all like that. You do that when you got a top of the line coaching staff and you got a top of the line scouting department. And I believe the Bears have both of those. To me, I think Chroma is being groomed to replace Walker next year. Walker's going to be 30, 31 years old. You say $5 million. I think Chroma replaces Walker next year. That's just
that's an interesting look.
As far as what you said, Keds, is regardless of what we've said, and Paul said that defensive line is the deepest hole like that. 2 of next year's 3 picks that are first and second round picks is probably going defensive line, offensive line, just as of right now.
Well, if you look at what and I'll throw it right back to you. If you look at what we have, we've got my estimation is a late round first, and then two seconds. So the way I'm sort of looking at it is basically 3 early second round picks. I expect them to be an edge rusher. If these edge rushers don't develop, I'm going to backtrack now and say that I'm pretty sure we've got something in Hardy and Booker. So to be continued. Outside of that, we're definitely going to double down on something on the offensive line, whether that's center or the other side of that offensive tackle. And then, I don't know. Who's to say what he does with that other second, right? Probably that other offensive line position, or they double down on a 3-tech maybe.
Well, and also keep this in your back of your mind. 2 years in a row, Pauls has traded the second round pick.
That's exactly what it was in the bag. It's funny you say it was exactly what was in the back of my mind, because I was like, I don't know what he does with it. Knowing this guy,
Yeah.
He's going to be out there spending it on something which might be that offensive tackle or that defensive edge rusher before we even get to the
Or
draft.
a healthy long snapper. Who knows?
Nobody's spending a second round kick on that. Or
I know.
on
I was being an ass on that.
Guys. Let me speak to the chat. Chris Foster, please slow down the amount. Stay here and chat all you want. Post all you want, but slow down. Give other people a chance to chat, man. You're killing this. You're killing the chat, man. People like the chat. I know you're here to try to destroy Don, but you got to slow down the amount of posts you're putting out there, just for the sake of everybody in the community, man. Let everybody else chat too. So just wanted to say that to you, Chris. I don't want to have to ding you or anything like that because I don't think you're here with bad intentions, but just slow down a little bit is all I got to say. But I'm gonna save one player, and you guys know what that is, man. Let's talk about. We don't need to talk about the long snapper at all. Scott Daly, we got him because what's his name got hurt and had surgery. Austin Reed, good thing that we kept him. We can stop and talk about him. Just raise your hand if you want to talk about that. But I was glad that they kept him around. You know, I think the development part is everything in this conversation about this practice squad. It's all about the development and what they think they can get out of this kid. We can go and talk about that later, but let's talk about Carl Jones first, man. I'm so glad that he made this roster because he's a thumper, and and that's I think he can play either Sam or Will equally. I think he's got the movement to play Will like an MFer, and I think he's tough enough to play that Sam backer who's really a thumper. That's what the Sam backer is. He's the thumper. He's that box linebacker that really focuses on the run when they put that group out there. And so I was really glad to see him. Hopefully he's another guy that I hope we can hold on to for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played well, right? He played well in the preseason. I have a hard time looking at these linebackers here because of how good that core group really is, man. And I'm pushing that all the way down to Ogbong Bamiga. Say that 3 times fast. Right? He played lights out. Carl Jones played very, very well. It's got to be one of the hardest linebacking rooms to get into in the NFL. Like, it's so funny because I'm trying to remember who I was watching yesterday, but I was watching something and they were really talking about this linebacker group. And they were just kind of hemming and hawing around it. And they're like, oh, yeah, they're a decent group. They're okay. And I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, we've got Tremaine Edmonds. Did he have the best season last year? No, he was a little bit hurt. It took him a little while to get back up to speed, and he had a decent season. TJ Edwards played lights out. Like at a comparable level of a Roquan Smith. Look at the stats. The stats speak to it all day long, right? Like, you get paid a heck of a lot less than Roquan Smith, and he doesn't care. He's out there doing it. Same with Jack Sanborn. Every time Sanborn is out there, he's putting somebody in the dirt, right? Like, this core's pretty solid, man. It's a pretty solid core. And I was really impressed to see a guy like 45 out there killing it all preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, bro, there's no, like, I don't know what you're out there doing. There's no room in this room for you. Well, he made himself some room. And I gotta respect that across the board. That being said, Carl's pretty solid. If there's some sort of issue with, again, a Noah Sewell, there's a couple of guys here, Michael Baskerville, Carl Jones, they might be able to slide up into that linebacker room if the need be. Unfortunately, to me, it's all eyes on Noah Sewell, right? Like, it's only Noah, and if there's an issue with Noah and they have to make some sort of a flex or change or move, I can see it happening. But that room is heavily and extremely underrated across the NFL, and I think the NFL is going to be very upset with themselves for underrating this linebacking room. Brian?
I agree with everything that you said. The only thing that I will add is Amon, and I believe if Baskerville or Jones was on the team, gives you kick-ass special teams as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It is about development. I think we're at a point on this roster where really good football players don't get to see the 53.
Yes.
Period. He's a really good football player. What I saw on tape ain't no fluke. I saw it when he came up the level to the NFL. And I believe in this young dude. Is if we can keep him on the roster and he gets a chance to shine, he's a missile, is what he is. Man. His speed from A to B and how he gets from 0 to 10 so fast. He's like a DB that plays linebacker, is what he is. And they use him like that. He was like a in my defense, they called it kind of a damn, I think I'm having a brain fart right now. But it's kind of like that ace role or where you kind of that guy that does a little bit of everything between linebacker and the
So
second.
like a Joker role, but
Joker
more in the secondary.
Yes, that's exactly what we called him, a joker. And so he would be a guy like that. He's like a tweener in between a safety and a linebacker, and you can use him in both manners. And so I think he's particularly valuable. And it's no surprise to me that he made this team. I mean, this team as a practice squad member. Another one of those guys where I just hope and pray that the scalpers don't come tearing off our practice squad, because we got some good ones on here, him being one of them. I'm really impressed by Carl Jones Jr. But let's talk about the guy, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, my guy Reddy. Made the practice squad. Oh, my goodness. All right, I'm just going to pass it to you, Kez. What you think?
All right, so let's talk a little about the Chicago Bears secondary. Let's get into this chat. So I was hoping we would get to Reddy Stewart a little while ago, but here we are. I'm going to start it right here. Katrina Pullen. Let's hold off on saying the Bears have a no-fly zone defense. Last year, there were too many breakdowns against good teams when it counted. And Katrina, you are bang on correct. Except those breakdowns were happening well before the Montez Sweat effect came into play. And that's the way you have to look at last year's defense. Last year's defense was terrible until they got Sweat. Once they got Sweat, the entire scheme of the defense didn't change. It worked, right? It's schemed a specific way. That being the case, we got the opportunity in those first few games to watch the young rookie grow into his position. That's Tariq Stevenson. Jalen Johnson is no question a lockdown, shutdown corner. Goes without saying. So those are your two guys on the outside. You then have Kyler Gordon in the middle. Kyler's insane. But if I would replace Kyler Gordon and he was hurt, if I had to replace him, I would not have any sort of problems pulling a Reddy Stewart back up onto the squad. I think Reddy Stewart is a potential replacement for Kyler Gordon down the road. I don't think they're anywhere near the same player. I think they truly come to the table with completely different skill sets. Skill set for Reddy Stewart is he just happens to know where the football is. It's the best thing I can say. He just happens to have instincts on how to play the ball, where the ball is in the sky, and he might just bring the ball, down and take it with him for 6. I see all those things in Reddy Stewart. We saw those same things watching his college tape, and we're like, whoa, this kid's not a top 10 pick or anything, but the ball just magnetically happens to fall into his lap all the time. And we went through preseason. I sat here and said, Reddy Stewart he's probably not gonna make this team, but if he gets a bunch of picks today, he might just make the boom pick, right? Like that.
Let me help Katrina out a little bit, kids. I'm gonna tell you exactly what Katrina is thinking about, and I believe this is what
she's right. But when you do, remember that Jalen Johnson was hurt that game.
Yeah, I know what she's talking about because it looks as though when you watch you ever hear the concept? Everybody knows the concept: bend but don't break, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's heard that enough time to make them puke. But there's truth to that. Is what you do. The concept is simple. It's an umbrella defense. It's meant to be an umbrella defense. You wanna keep everything underneath you so that you can run and hit. What does Flus talk about? This team is gonna run and it's gonna hit, and it's gonna cause turnovers. We're gonna emphasize turnovers because we shouldn't be giving up that much leeway to an offense, but we will in order to get these opportunities to run, hit guys, take the ball away. Right? That is the heart and soul of the scheme. And so what she's talking about is how much teams run up and down the field on the Bears, and when it counts, they don't have the defense and the guys in place to make a play on the ball and take the ball away or stop that drive. Up until now, Katrina, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking to what you're saying and what she's saying at the same time.
And I'm here for it, right? End of the day, we did not have the pass rush during the first half of the season. That pass rush, it directly affects the secondary's usefulness. I think we have the people back there. I think we have the talent and the caliber back there. Unfortunately, we didn't have it up front. Not with Yannick. Then Yannick got hurt. We eventually got it with Sweat. But again, nothing from the other side. If we have it this season with Sweat commanding the double team, Booker and or Hardy on the other side just creating some sort of pressure, and all they have to do, again, they don't have to be world beaters. They have to win their one-on-ones, extend that out to Dexter, win his one-on-ones. Pressure exists now. If there's pressure on the quarterback, he's going to do some dumb stuff, and we see it. I know you were talking about Jared Goff a little bit earlier on. You see it with Goff. You pressure Goff, he gets a little rattled. Weird stuff starts to happen. What happens? Secondaries come away with footballs. I have no worry about those guys back there and their ability to perform as a secondary. I have zero worry. And it's part of the way that Poles built this team. He actually built it backwards. And in building it backwards, we're here going back and forth for the last year or so, talking about that edge rusher on the left side. Meanwhile, the secondary's full. It's lockdown corners on both sides, in my opinion. Tariq's just waiting to be that and get that level of respect. Probably the most targets in the league last season. Played admirably once he started to be a little bit less physical. Hey man, I'm with it. I don't think the secondary's got anything to worry about, and I already discussed that linebacker core that's sitting just in front of them. Just wait for it.
The Plank Santa just did it again. The Plank Santa just struck again, slid down somebody's chimney, got all kind of soot on him, and gave up.
Hose there, Brian.
He might have ate all the cookies on that plate and drank all the milk there, but he left you guys a membership. Whoever he left that guy a membership to, whoever he left that to, Plank, I guess you got to explain to him how that works. You know it better than me. I think you have to accept it, I believe. So I'm not really, I need to get brushed up on that, but shout out to the Plankster for being Santa Claus again for the Nomad Network. Just gave away another membership. We're getting real close to doing our membership shows, man. And I can't wait to do that because I would love for people to see how we really talk behind the scenes, man, because it's really a treat. It's a whole lot of love, but it's funny. But when we get to a certain amount of members, we'll be able to do members only content. You're ready to start doing subscribers only content. When you come into a show and you realize that this is subscribers only, you can only chat if you're a subscriber. You'll understand why. But we're going to do that for members too. So I can't wait for that. Good looking out, Plank. Love you, my brother, for that.
Yeah, big shout outs, Plank. I think it should go to Cornelius Squall's number 2 No Maniac. I'll just throw that out there for Cornelius. Give you a little bit of love, bro.
Plank is that dude, man. Plank is that dude.
That's it.
Was it Aunt Moss? What is it, Aunt Moss?
No, Aunt
Yeah.
Moss. Okay. Way to go, Aunt Moss.
Yeah, I think it was Aunt Moss. Hey, shout out to you, Aunt Moss and Plank, man. Look at that. That's love for you, man. That's love for you.
There you go.
Man.
All right. So I think we got through the bulk of this thing here, unless you wanted to go to the reserves.
No, I want to say one more thing about Reddy, man, because I think it's worth saying. Reddy Stewart is 178 pounds. That's not going to make it in the NFL. He's really good when the ball is in the air, but when that ball is on the ground, he's going to get hurt, and he needs some development. He's got to get stronger, period. Point blank, he's got to hit the weight room. He has got to build some muscle on him, because 178 pounds, man, this ain't your daddy's football. This dude's got to get bigger. He's got to get stronger, or he's going to get hurt out there. And I think, looking at it from that standpoint, me coming into college as I was 165 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. And right away on that level, I knew I was too small, and I had to really hit the weight room. I was quick, fast, and I was ridiculous when the ball was in the air, and willing when the ball was on the ground to hit people. But when I hit people, it fucking hurt. And I was lucky that I didn't get hurt. So I know where Reddy Stewart is at physically. He has got to put on some muscle in order for him to, if he was to step up in this caliber, get off the practice squad and get onto the 53, it will be after he's tanked his body up a little bit. He's got to, or he will get hurt.
I'll say a little bit about Reddy Stewart. I view him as the same way that I view Chroma. I think they're grooming him, hoping that he don't get picked off the practice squad, because both Blackwell and Jones are free agents at the end of the year. So they may, try to, again, the apprenticeship. Also, I seen a interview with Reddy, Clockers Sports, and Reddy said this was the first time that he played nickel. He had always played, outside.
Corner on the outside, yeah.
Yeah. So I think this year for him is just get acclimated to the NFL, what it is they want from him, learn how to train, learn how to take notes, how the Bears want him to do, the coaches want him to do. All honesty, I thought he earned the 53, but I understand why they put him on the practice squad, and hopefully he don't get picked up by another team.
So somebody wanted to know how big Kyler. Kyler is about 190 pounds, 192, somewhere in that neighborhood. I could be wrong, but I believe that's about where he is. That's even he is a little bit light.
He's bigger than that.
And Gerald Shea says that's why he plays nickel. He's in danger more than the other corners because he's in the box all the time.
According to this, Kyler's 5'11", 200.
Okay, that's about right. He's in that neighborhood. I know he's about 192. I thought he was, but I think that's kind of over. I think that's a little heavy for Kyler, to be honest with you. I don't know if I see 200, but he could be, and I just don't know it. But yeah, he Reddy is not ready physically yet. I'm telling you what I know from experience. He ain't there physically.
And I think you're bang on, and that's probably exactly why he's a practice squad buddy as opposed to being on the 53. Maybe he's a little bit undersized in that respect. That to me is a prime opportunity to develop a talent like him. Put a little bit of size on him, let him loose, see how he does, and if he's ready to rock and roll next season, away he goes. If they got to elevate him, they can do so. What I will say in his defense, he made some pretty decent tackles, and I believe he got a sack. So like I'll throw both of those things out there. No, my bad. It was Adrian Culver who got the sack, but he was involved in that play. Definitely got a couple of really nice tackles, and that was something I was a little bit worried about him. Same token, even his college film, you see Reddy out there, willing, wanton tackler, and that's half the battle, right? You really want to see a guy get in there and want to do it, and I don't see him having that problem. A little bit of size, absolutely, he can put it on.
Hey, so I'm going to say this because this is what I've learned over time. Some people point out some different things to me that I didn't really know what was going on, and I keep them to myself. And I'm not going to say nothing now, but different people on that team noticed this podcast. I would just say that. And I'm not going to say that they would speak to it openly because, I don't know, maybe because some of the stuff we say on the show doesn't jibe well with the building, but I know players watch this podcast. Some people just like the thumbnails that we make. They're like, I hear stuff. And so if Reddy Stewart's listening to my voice right now, just trust me when I tell you, take it from the experience I can give you. The weight you are right now is not sufficient. You got to, and I know it's hard to put on that kind of weight when you're that age because it was difficult for me. I had to find something that worked. And you know what it ended up being? And I'm going to say this to you, Reddy. Beans and potatoes. Why? It's going to make you feel like you got lead in your stomach running around. But you got to hold on to them. You can't get extra stuff in you to help them digest so you can get rid of it. So you can put a laxative in your stomach because you feel it when you're running around, sprinting and running around on the field, doing what they ask you to do. You feel that stuff in your stomach because you're light. You know what I mean? But let that just live with it. And eventually you won't feel it anymore. And the next thing you know, it filters out to your muscles. And next thing you know, you start seeing yourself get a little bit bigger. Beans and potatoes, I'm telling you. Beans and potatoes, you gotta get it in your body. Those beans will stick to you. Those potatoes will stick to you. Eventually, if you stick to that kind of diet, you will put on at least 10, 12 pounds of muscle before you know it. Just give it about 3 or 4 weeks, and I guarantee you'll see the difference. That's what it worked for me. I couldn't keep weight on me for nothing. If I can eat beans and potatoes and run and do all the stuff that everybody has to do on the field every day, you can too. It's just beans and potatoes. You got to get some stuff in you that iron, man, and that potassium will stick to you.
No arguments here, man. No arguments.
If I could give you some of my blubber ready, I greatly would, and about 12 other people.
Yeah, me and Country Santa will definitely donate if the need be ready. We got you.
Mo Fugger says, I'm just worried that Gordon may get picked on with bigger wide receivers starting to line up in the slot. You know why I really don't worry too much about that? It's because of Kyler's athleticism.
That helps, but
yeah, it's a legit concern.
I don't think it's a concern at all because
it is a legit concern because he's not rangy. He's got shorter arms and he's 5'10".
That is factual. You also have a 6 foot. What is Tremaine?
Tremaine is 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, man. Like Tremaine's huge and rangy, and he's right in there too. So I'm not worried about Kyler Gordon in that scenario at all. Not at all.
His athleticism makes up for it. There's a reason why he's a starting nickel on this team. His athleticism makes up for that range that you're looking for because he's a little bit shorter. I see that too. I understand it, but I know that some guys are athletically and they've got that it factor going on. Kyler's got that shit going on in spades. He's going to make plays. He's going to lose some every now and again too, but I wouldn't get too bent out of shape about it. So I would say that. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at this roster, man, because let's look at the regular roster because we came here to talk about the playmakers. and the reasons why. I think we've proven why the depth in that practice squad tells you a lot about how good this 53 is. Because there's some guys that should be on this team. There's a couple, 2 or 3 guys that there's no reason good in the world why they didn't make the 53 other than you got a pretty talented roster on your 53. There's some guys that ain't gonna make it. Quite honest with you. So, let's talk about the actual playmakers. Let's start with DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is, quite frankly, the most underrated receiver in the NFL. And I'm not saying that because we have DJ Moore. The truth is, I didn't know too much about DJ Moore until he got to Chicago. You want to hear a butt-naked truth? I didn't know too much about DJ Moore until he got to Chicago. And I was just like, hold on. When I start hearing the rumors, some of the trade rumors started to come out, and people were talking about this stuff. Like, what if the Bears got, like, who the fuck is DJ? And I started looking at this guy. I'm like, hold the fuck up. DJ Moore has been living in purgatory his entire NFL career, and even with the Bears. Just because he got traded to the Bears didn't mean he made a vertical move. It was more lateral. But now, with that season that he had with Justin busting out for 1,200, 1,300 yards, that was crazy. So people know exactly who DJ Moore is. DJ Moore is a running back, basically, that can catch, is what he is. And he's a playmaker. Anybody doubt that DJ Moore is one of the better playmakers in the NFL is smoking dope. DJ Moore is that dude. And so we'll start there with the playmakers. Let's start with the epitome of them on our team. I think DJ Moore is the best player on our football team, period. Y'all can argue with me if you want to, but it's going to be a long one.
Well, as much as I argue with you, I'm not going to. I will say this, as a fantasy guy, I'm a little bit, I was fairly aware of DJ Moore, well before he showed up in blue and orange, right? As a Panther, it's a terrible comparison I'm about to make, but you'll see why I'm making the comparison. The comparison I'm going to make is Allen Robinson. Now, these two guys don't play anything like each other. Let's get the terrible part out of the way. But what they both have done is play with terrible quarterbacks and not miss a beat. Right? The quarterback case scenario over in Carolina was not a good one, during Cam Newton's last season or any of the subsequent seasons while DJ Moore was there. He was still putting up about 1,000 yards a year, regardless, right? He comes over here, connects with Justin Fields, 1,300 yards later, the theory is proven. And the comparison to Allen Robinson is that Allen basically just did the same thing at Jacksonville for years before he showed up here in Chicago, and then had a very good connection with Mitch Trubisky, and it was a similar situation. Again, both of these guys played in underwhelming case scenarios and played admirably. I'm just super stoked that DJ Moore is now in a situation where he might not be playing with a lackluster quarterback. He might be playing with a superstar quarterback, or a quarterback with at least superstar potential. If that's the case, I expect everybody's numbers to go up. It's going to be hard for DJ's numbers to actually go up, but I don't see him really missing a beat this season at all. So that guy, like you said, he's a running back, catches a football, runs routes very cleanly, crispy, and it's very hard to bring him down once the ball's in his hands. So I'm glad he's a Chicago Bear. That's for damn sure. Brian?
The only thing that I can halfway add, he's did it on lackluster teams with lackluster quarterbacks. He's consistent with the team now that Poles has built. He don't have to be the savior. When we talk about balance, that's part of the equation. Gee whiz, you got 5 guys that can catch the ball at any time. Who cares about wide receiver number 1 or not? We got a stacked wide receiver group. As far as DJ being the best player on the team, I mean, that's probably debatable if you're adding Montez Sweat and all like that. But again, who cares? It's a strong wide receiver group, and kudos to Ryan Poles and the front office for building that team. Nomad?
Hey, I didn't forget Rome. I know that's what you want to say. It was just a lot of guys. So we're gonna talk about the actual playmakers, and it's a lot of playmakers that didn't make didn't make the thumbnail. And I'm just talking about the ones that fit on here for now. But I would say that there may be 4, potentially 5 guys, some possibles that should have made that thumbnail. And we're gonna talk about this next guy. We're gonna go. Let's go. Would anybody argue with me to say that Kyler Gordon isn't a playmaker? Anybody want to argue against that? Go ahead if you want.
No.
So Kyler Gordon is not a playmaker. Like, I'm not going to make that argument.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. He's ascending.
It's not just that he's ascending. He's, and we saw a little bit of it this preseason. He's going to be used a little bit. Like, I'm kind of excited about the Eric Washington thing again. And expectations are tempered. You know what I mean? You know who I am. But I'm excited about Eric Washington and what he's going to do with a guy like Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon may not just be following around a slot receiver. He may be screaming through on a blitz. So if you guys expect, if you don't consider a sack making a play,
there's so many different ways to affect the game. Brian, do you have that pen and paper next to you like you normally do? Keep track. We got DJ, no arguments, and I think we're unanimous on Kyler Gordon. So we got 2 playmakers right off the top, right? Kyler and DJ. And Kyler will make plays, like you just said, kids. There's more than one way to have an effect on the game and be a playmaker. And I think you definitely put Kyler Gordon in that category. So, all right. So here we go now. You might as well pick up that pen again because you got Montez.
Oh, I got it in my hand. I didn't put it down.
Montez Sweat, Jack.
Well, yeah, no questions there with Montez Sweat. Definitely a playmaker. No, I don't. I can get deep into that situation, but no need. Even if Montez Sweat is not a 12-sack guy this season, understand he's the reason why the guys throughout that defensive line are getting the numbers they're getting. He's the reason why the guys in the secondary are getting the numbers they're getting. So just, keep that in mind. If for some wacky reason it ain't 12 sacks come the end of the season.
Go ahead, Brian. I'll let you speak to that.
Ditto. That was easy.
Hey, all right. So go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's not much that I could add, but again, with this, how this team is constructed, you may have one game where DJ is the leading receiver. The next game, it could be Keenan Allen. And then you could have Rome. And then, hell, the 4th game, Komet. Could be end up being unlikely, but still that's possible. The same thing with the defense. Sweat's probably going to lead in sacks, but we're not sure how Booker's going to be, but, we're hoping the best. But Billings is going to do double teams day in, day out. That frees up Sweat, helps him out. with Edwards and Edmonds, both of them had over 100 tackles. Both of them had 4 interceptions each. And then you got that secondary. I mean, good luck. The pin it all on one player having to, be Superman. You don't, because this is a balanced team on both sides.
There's a couple of guys on this team who I believe are apex at their positions. We got a couple of apex guys. We got maybe 3. I think we may have 3 guys, apex players at their positions. And I think DJ is one. I think Montez is another, and I think Jalen is the third. I mean, I'm not talking about around apex. I think they are apex. They are the apex predators at their positions. You know what I mean? We got 3 of them on our team, and we just got started. Montez Sweat is an absolute game changer.
Now, wait a sec. Keenan Allen's probably going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Yeah.
You say?
So we got to get to that guy. And so how many guys you got so far, Brian? Go ahead and throw Keenan on in there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
2 guys on defense, 2 guys on offense.
All right, so let's talk about Keenan. Another apex guy at his position. Apex. Not somewhere around the perimeter. No, apex at his position. On the Chicago Bears. Let's talk about it, kids.
Yeah, he's one of the he's one of the elite slot receivers in this league. Period. Can he play the outside? Yup. So like that just makes him elite across the board. Is he a playmaker? Without a shadow of a doubt, and definitely proved that over the years in his time with the Chargers. Proven year in, year out.
Mm-hmm.
Mo Fugra, yeah.
We didn't got to talk about it because I'm going there next. Mo,
Mo Fugra, bro.
I think he's one of the top 2 safeties in the NFL. Period.
I can't argue.
Period. I said that before.
Let's do that then. Let's just do that then. So, we're gonna quickly move away from Keenan Allen because it's kind of obvious. But Kevin Byard is somebody I think everybody is sleeping on. And one of the major issues when we looked at this team at the beginning of all this, beginning of end of January, we're looking at Eddie Jackson. We're looking at his contract. We're looking at his contribution over the last 2 years. And we're like, you know what? Dollar for dollar, we could probably get a little bit more from somebody else. And they went out, struck a fantastic, ridiculous deal with Kevin Byard to bring him here. And he does. In practice, on the film, y'all can see it. He does all the stuff that we've been complaining about over the past few years that Eddie Jackson didn't do. So I'm with it. I think that they upgraded at this position at a lower cost, and you can't beat that with a bet.
Hey kids, do you remember the argument? I think it was more me and Samo.
I was gonna say it was Samo. Yeah, I remember.
And I was just like, if we can get Kevin Byard, there's like, man, Samo was like, man, no, man, he's gonna cost too much. I was just like, what if we can get him for the right price? I thought he was the best safety in football.
He was listed
other than Justin Simmons, and maybe I wouldn't say other than, I would say right along with Justin Simmons and the kid over at Pittsburgh right now. I can't think of his name right now, but great safety. Great safety.
Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, Mika Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick. 3 of the top safeties in the league, and I would say he's probably better than all of them, all around.
All around, I can't like, there's different things. You got Minka's a little bit younger. He's got a couple of years on. I'm like, there's different little things you could say about the other guys. I don't care to say any of those things because I know what this guy can do. He can tackle like an MF. He will tackle. Like I was saying about Reddy a little bit earlier on, wanting, willing to tackle. Something that we've been complaining about Eddie for a while was just those 2 little things. And he'll get in there, get his nose dirty, get his hands dirty, but likely not going to wrap you up. Probably going to come in with the shoulder. And if he doesn't hit you with the shoulder effectively, you may wind up in the end zone. That's just what it was. And I don't see us having any of that stuff to worry about with Kevin Byard on the case. So, yeah, Andy's a ball hawk too, y'all. And that was like a little questionable case scenario with Eddie as well.
All right, so let's move on to, did we mention Jalen Johnson, Pro Bowler?
You did bring him up a little bit. You did touch on
we already put that down there?
Yeah.
Would anybody argue with me at this point in his career that Jalen Johnson is not a shutdown corner?
Hell no.
Not this guy.
Okay, so he's easily on the list of bona fide playmakers.
So here's the only reason why I might omit him on a list of playmakers.
I want to hear this.
I'm sure you do. The only reason why I might omit Jalen Johnson from a list of playmakers is because I have a feeling that quarterbacks will continue to be scared shitless to throw the ball in his direction.
And that, if that's the case, he's already made a play because he's eliminated a quarter of the field.
Great way of looking at it. Great way of looking at it. I ain't trying to take
play made already before they got in the huddle.
I ain't trying to take anything away from Jalen. I think Jalen has proven exactly who he is. I think the league knows exactly who he is. I've been saying the league's sleeping on this team. I think like the one guy, there's like two guys on this team they ain't sleeping on. And those are, it's Montez Sweat and Jalen Johnson. Everybody else, as far as the league is concerned, toss up question. But
I'm tired of trying to say this name. It's not because I don't have respect for you. I'm gonna just call you Jay from now on because I hate
Yarrow Shockway.
Yarrow Shockway. I'm gonna call you Jay, man. I hope you be okay with that. But I guarantee you, by the time the season is over, you won't say that same thing about Kevin Byard, because he was with the Titans for 4 years, so he knew that system inside and out. Went to the Eagles and had to learn a completely different set of calls, and it takes time to do that. Same thing he's doing here with the Bears. He may give up a couple early in the season. He may give up a little bit early in the season, and it's going to be mainly due to miscommunication. I'm going to guarantee you that. He's not going to openly come out and say that. But if he has some miscommunication errors and gives up a couple plays here and there, I wouldn't fault him for that, because once he somewhere around the middle of the season, he's going to be lights out. I can promise you that. So this is a simpler system than what the Eagles ran. The Eagles, this is a 3-4 front, and it's a lot more nuanced to a 3-4 than it is to a 4-3. I can tell you that from experience.
I'll just dispute you just a little bit, Nomad, is that he went from being on a team for X amount of years to being traded to a team that for some reason that locker room was toxic, because everybody was picking them to repeat again. And for some reason it didn't work. He chose to be with the Bears. That's a little bit of a different situation, being traded midseason and signing as a free agent.
So here's the one thing that both y'all missed. I thought Brian would hit it, but Matt Patricia. Okay, so there you go.
Wow.
So, right. Yeah. So Matt Patricia was the guy who wound up taking that secondary, destroying it. It was originally our old DB guy, wasn't it? Sean Desai. So it was Sean Desai who got overstepped by Matt Patricia. That entire secondary room was confused. They didn't know who to listen to or what was being told to them, right? Finally, they fired both of these guys and enter Vic Fangio. All right, so that's what happened with that secondary situation in Philadelphia. Yeah, Byard didn't look great. I think this is Byard's opportunity to really step back into the role that he was playing when he was in Tennessee.
I swear, man, those fucking Patriots coaches are like rotten eggs in a building, man. Stinks up every damn thing, man. And I didn't realize that we should have talked about that, talking about his little tenure with the Eagles. But you're right, man. That's a factor, man.
100%. It's the factor, bro. It's the same factor. Oh yeah, wasn't Matt Patricia in where was he? He's in Detroit. Was he in Detroit for a little while?
Yeah.
Yeah, thought that was where he was. Yeah. Wonder why they don't have a secondary over there either.
Hold on, Jay. Jay, you have got to be kidding me. On film, if you want to say anything about Kevin Byard, the one thing outside of his when it's him against everything else and there's nobody else to finish a playoff, if he doesn't make that play, it's a touchdown, a tackle in the middle of the field, he will make it. But his instincts are like an animal. He's got animal instincts. So to me, that's his strength. That's nothing to worry about with Kevin Byard. And I look at a lot of film. His instincts are incredible. Absolutely incredible. He just has to understand what the concept is and his job in each individual play. Have to communicate with the other safety and maybe with a cornerback or two to reassure him, hey, man, go ahead and jump this one. I got you over the top. Once he starts getting to that level with these group of guys that he's working with, Kevin Byard is, I'm telling you, I'm just going to say this. Kevin Byard, I'm going to leave it really, really simple, is, if not one, the second best safety in the league. Period. Ain't no, I'll argue with anybody about that.
No, you ain't arguing with me because I am right there with you in full agreement. I just think he needs the opportunity to shine again. I think that the coaching of that secondary in Philadelphia was suspect, and that's what sort of put a bad light on Denver. You're killing me out there. So first thing to say, look, y'all secondary sucked last season. Actually, it sucked for the last couple of seasons. But I am gonna say you got yourself Terrion Arnold. We spent a little bit of time. Actually, we spent a lot of time on Terrion Arnold, and he's really
top two corners in the draft.
As far as both me and you are concerned, yeah, I would say.
But he a rookie, Don. You got to understand that, man. He's gonna get his shit taken from him.
Yeah, he's got some learning to do. He's gonna have to come up a little bit within himself, but I think he'll serve your team very, very, very well. Gotta say that. But that's just one player. Our secondary as a secondary unit is disgusting, and you probably need to clue in to that as a fact. But I can wait until we play you a little bit later in the season so that it's actually proven.
By the time we see Terrion Arnold, he ain't gonna be such a rookie no more.
That is true. Well, no, and neither will Caleb Williams. So take that as well, right? So that's why I can't wait till like week 10 when I really get to understand what this team is. By around then, we'll really know what kind of squad we got. And I think they'll already have solidified themselves as a playoff caliber team. And then we go into the gauntlet and we start to deal with all of these NFC North teams. And, man, ain't that going to be fun?
So I got two more names. I'm going to combine them because they are a duo. And that's how we should look at them because their symmetry together is starting to get magical. The way they flow together. I'm talking about our two starting linebackers. I'm talking about Maine Savage, Tremaine Edmonds, and I got TJ Hitman. I think they are playmakers. Argue with me and tell me they are not. Anybody.
Man. So I'm going to argue with you, but I will be proven wrong by this season. That much is for sure. So follow me. Edmonds didn't have a great season last season, and it's about.
Are you going to tell Brian not to write those down? I dare you.
Too late.
He's written them both down. Fine. So that's just me. I actually wouldn't put I wouldn't put Tremaine Edmonds on a playmaker list today. I think Tremaine Edmonds will prove to all of us that last year was an anomaly.
I was going to say, he's a two-time Pro Bowler.
Like, this is what I'm trying to say. He's a two-time Pro Bowler. The guy gets the job done. He's exactly what Flus needs in that middle linebacker role, right? He has the length. He has the height.
Speed.
Willing tackler, knows what's going on. I have no problems with the guy. I just consider last year a little bit of a down year for him, and I think he picks it up fully this season. Not only do I think he picks it up fully this season, I think like one of the most important things for any of these players is to actually know your shortcomings, right? To actually recognize, hey, you know what? I had a down season, or you know what I mean? Like this is how you actually grow. It's that self-criticism that you have to, self-evaluation that you have to do as a professional athlete. I think he's gone through that this past offseason. I know he was critical of himself when he had his first few conversations with the media this season. I think he goes out there and proves it differently this season without much effort. I'll be frank. The guy next to him, though, in my opinion, the single most underrated linebacker in the NFL.
I'd have to point out this comment by AC Adam. This is probably the most pinpoint, bullseye fucking accurate comment that you can make about one of these guys we talked about tonight. And that is Edwards is a predator, bro. Yeah. That's absolutely what he is. Damn you, AC Adam, for beating me to saying that, because I was going there with some of my conversation. Man, let me tell you something. TJ is a beast, bro. Straight up. I mean, he cleans up everything. He cleans everything up. He makes everything right. You know what I mean? When guys get a little bit out of alignment, get a little bit out of assignment, get a little bit off angle, that son of a bitch comes and cleans everything. TJ Edwards is probably, I would say this, I feel confident and comfortable saying that I can't say this about Demario Davis, because I think Demario Davis is seen as he's like that. Demario Davis and TJ Edwards are the most underrated linebackers in football, period.
Well, I'll give it
Demario
to TJ.
Davis just got paid. TJ haven't yet.
I'll give it to TJ across the board. I think he's the single most underrated linebacker in the sport. That's my take on it. I think his numbers speak for themselves. Edmonds, on the other hand, the way that I sort of look at this thing is I look at it a lot like Urlacher and Briggs. And Briggs was just that hard-nosed guy all over the field making tackles. Whereas there were times, especially towards the latter years, where Urlacher was more direct in traffic and getting into to passing lanes, and as opposed to really being that all across the field tackler that he was in his earlier years. And that's kind of the way that I felt last season played out with TJ and Tremaine. I don't think that's the way that this season plays out. I think it actually plays out quite a bit differently. I think TJ continues the same, just I'm everywhere on the field putting somebody in the dirt. And I think Tremaine steps up his game. So, zero worries about that linebacker core, man.
There isn't a player on this football team. When I say I'm a true blue traditional football, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to this thing. It's about running and hitting. At the end of the day, do you make teams not want to travel in your jurisdiction? Do you intimidate guys? When your defense is out there, TJ Edwards is, to me, the heart and soul of that defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's the heart and soul. He ain't going to get the accolades, but I think without TJ, none of this shit work. Because It's the same
Nothing
thing
works.
with Lance Briggs. Everybody gives Brian Urlacher all that credit because he's the guy that stood out, big, tall, white dude, 6'5", 6'6" long, and made all the interceptions. But it was Lance Briggs that made a lot of that shit work.
Bro, he was like I say, Urlacher was directing traffic. Lance Briggs is in the gap. You know what I mean? It's just kind of how it works, and it's very similar with the way that these two play off of each other. And I just expect a higher level of linebacker play from Edmonds this time around, especially considering that he's not coming into the season injured or hurt the way that he was last season.
Man. Both of them
Oh,
are absolute playmakers, man.
I just want to add one thing two things about Edmonds. One, another year of being with the teammates and all like that. And two, getting Washington, his former coach, how that will help him as with Washington being a defensive coordinator that knows the strengths and weakness of Edmonds, how that could help him out.
Yeah, that'll be huge, Brian. That was actually the first time I heard the name Eric Washington, I was like, oh, okay, so now they got the guy who helped this guy,
Be a Pro Bowler.
Guy to those 2 Pro Bowlers, right? Like exactly that. So I do expect a similar caliber of linebacker play from him this time around.
Guys, I will reiterate this so I know. I want everybody to know this. Everybody that listens to this show, watches this show, however you get the show on live, replay, however you get it. If there's this guy has my utmost respect. There isn't a player on this team that I respect more than what TJ Edwards, because I know the job that he has to do. He is a boss. And without TJ in this defense, we'd struggle like black folks in the 60s.
You know what? As much love as I have for TJ
man,
and where you're going, I don't think they drop off at all.
Shit, you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. I don't think they drop off at all because I see very similar traits in Jack Sanborn.
I do, but Jack Sanborn is really, really good, but he ain't quite as good as TJ Edwards.
I agree. Like
he's in the category, but he ain't quite as good. TJ's got another level instinctually that I don't think people quite understand. Like it's some shit that happens on there film wise that TJ just knows, and he's there before he's reading that shit before it happens. TJ, I seen it when I was watching his Philly tape before we got him, and he became available on the free agent market. And I was saying to myself, I was like, if the fucking Eagles don't hurry up and get this motherfucker signed up and give him whatever he wants, they will struggle. Their defense will struggle next year. And what did their defense do?
Bro, he was the heart and soul of that defense for sure. Like without a shadow of a doubt.
Telling you, man, TJ Edwards is worth his weight in gold. He's absolutely. I'm a DB. I'm a DB at heart, and I love all DB play. He is absolutely my favorite player on this team. I'm telling you, TJ Edwards is the key to that defense.
Man, I ain't going to say all of that now, but like I respect that. I respect the hell out of this guy. Like I don't know what to say, and I probably can't really say enough. But just considering that this man left a potential Super Bowl type situation in Philadelphia to come here and make regular money. He didn't come here for big money. He's making regular money here, and the way that he plays, making that regular money, holy smokes. Man, nothing but respect to you, bro. Nothing but respect, bro. TJ Edwards, you're a guy.
All right, let's talk about some. I think everybody knows how we feel about TJ Edwards. Let's talk about some guys that's some maybes, some really strong maybes. Let's talk about Javon Dexter. Are you ready to call him a playmaker?
No, I'm not.
No, it's too soon.
Okay. Yep. I would go along with that. High potential, high ceiling for a playmaker status this year, right?
100. Anybody on that line could be a playmaker.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Before you go any further, you said no. Brian said no. All right. Let's go Andrew Billings, playmaker or no? I'm saying yeah. You want me to give you my explanation?
I would say yeah, because he constantly eats up two players.
Yes, there you go. That makes plays.
Yes.
That little simple thing that Brian just said makes plays. If you're requiring a double team and you're a threat that if you're one-on-one with anybody that you can absolutely wreck a play, you're a playmaker. Would anybody argue with that?
Not only does he take on two blockers, but he's also very stout against the run.
Somebody, Bear Truth 9, is arguing with me about something. He says, no, Nomad. Quan and TJ, the best read and react in the game. Edwards more fundamentally sound on the job assignments than Quan, but Quan is an animal athlete and breaks every branch on the tree. When I think he's talking about Quan EB, right?
Yeah, Brickster.
We're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to him because potentially I'm not ready to put him there yet, but he's on the high end of either getting in that category or absolutely falling off. It's going to be one of the two things with him, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. So what were we talking about? We're talking about Andrew Billings, playmaker. I'm giving him playmaker.
Well, the next tier from elite.
I'm giving him playmaker. Anybody arguing?
I wouldn't call Andrew Billings a playmaker. He has a very specific role. He's great at what he does in that role. I think he's more of a complementary player who allows others to make plays. That's the way that I look at it.
Okay. I would say this, and this is not to look down on anybody, what anybody's got to say about Andrew Billings. But in this scheme, what you would when you're a 4 down front, what you're looking for is mismatches. And you're looking for guys to get opportunities to get wins on one-on-one. That's the name of the game. If you can get home with 4 guys down, and if one of those 4 get a double team and you got 3 guys that are one-on-one. So if Andrew Billings is getting a double team, they're not double teaming who? On the other side of on the edge.
Sweat, Dexter.
And if they're double teaming Sweat, Andrew Billings is one-on-one. Problem. So absolute, before he even lines up, he's a playmaker because he's going to suck up a double team. That's a play made before you even approach the line of scrimmage. If you get on that line of scrimmage and they jump and their alignment is looking like a double team, Montez Sweat knows that. Javon Dexter knows that. DeMarcus Walker or who's ever on the other end, even Austin Booker will learn to know that. He may not recognize that right now at this point in his career, but he will learn to recognize that. And when he does, those things make plays. This front right here can be so problematic for a team. You got Andrew Billings and you've got Montez Sweat, and you have the potential of this young number 94, who's the next guy I'm going to get to. Anybody want to? Okay, I'm going to say he's a potential playmaker. I'm not going to give him that status yet.
Who?
Austin Booker.
It's one or the other.
I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to reach out there and say he's a playmaker.
It's hard for me not to say he's a playmaker. It's quite literally one or the other. So we have zero proof of this except for what we've seen in the preseason. But given the scheme, given the fact that we've just identified that either an Andrew Billings is going to eat up a double team or a Montez Sweat is going to eat up a double team, that should make for a great season for Austin Booker and Javon Dexter. That's the way I look at this defensive line. Those two guys should, if they can win their one-on-ones, those two guys should eat all season long, which really then just leaves it to being a situation where Montez Sweat can break a double team if the requirement.
I gotta check Don right quick. Don talking about, see, that's why I love my Detroit O-line, because we're not doubling nobody in Bears want you doubling. I wish you motherfuckers would jump on come against us, and you don't double team Montez Sweat or Andrew Billings. Y'all getting y'all ass ate up again. You think y'all got y'all ass kicked last time? Don't double team Montez Sweat.
Bro, we were getting to the quarterback last year without anybody on the other side. So, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, good luck this season, Don.
All right, so he's trying to make the argument. I'm telling you right now, Don. I'm telling you right now. He's saying Booker, playmaker, hasn't played it down, laughing out loud.
And that's
like
fair comment.
I've seen enough in the preseason to know that he's going to be a playmaker. He's going to be a playmaker and a difference maker on this squad. I'm gonna jump out there and put my neck on the chopping block right now. I'm giving him playmaker because I've seen enough. This dude is he's mean, and he's determined, and he's got an engine. That's what's gonna make all the plays for him. The same way number 97 Hutchinson came in for you guys in his rookie year, it was just sheer determination. The same way you just didn't predict that he was going to be that dog that he ended up being. I'm telling you right now, Austin Booker is going to be that same dog. Just telling you right now when he gets his snaps.
Look, I expect that to be the case 1,000,000,000%. Like I honestly do. Just watching him through the preseason, kid is a monster. Somebody Bear Truth 9 used the term Tasmanian Devil a little bit earlier on. We were talking about who were we talking about was a Tasmanian Devil when you said it before. Anyways, TJ Edwards is who he was saying. I think the real Tasmanian Devil wears 94. That's my call there. Katrina, I can't argue with you. Facts are facts. Booker hasn't been on the field. Don, I can't argue with you. Booker hasn't been on the field. But what I can tell you is when he gets on the field, he's going to be a playmaker.
He's going to be an animal, man. I can see that already. I watch tape like you wipe your behind. Dude, he's going to be an absolute difference maker when he gets his reps. It's just a matter of time. Now let's talk about Jaquan Brisker, because he's one of the major question marks I have on this team. And I love Jaquan Brisker. I'm going to tell you why. So long as this defense, now this is to his advantage. I think he stands a strong chance of really being a playmaker in this defense and on this team. So long as they have the pressure, or the front is functioning like it should be, they're getting a pass rush, they're plugging the run the way they need to be, and they're not throwing the ball all over the field. Because when he's coming downhill, he's an elite safety. But when he's in the trail mode and in the chase mode, he's average. I'm being honest with you about one of the guys I love on this team. And when people come and watch these podcasts and they come back, I think people can appreciate my honesty and me being upfront about what I think about this team and what you guys think about this team. I don't think Jaquan Brisker is there yet, but he's a strong possibility. And I think it's got everything to do with the amount of pressure we'll be able to put on teams, is how well he's going to be able to play. Because if he's chasing all the time, he's going to look like a liability.
Well, you're the DB, man. So I am going to argue with you on this one too and say that he's a playmaker, because in my opinion, he is. Again, very wanton tackler, decent ball hawk. The only thing that I have to take away negatively from his game at this present time is just injury potential. That's it. I think he does just about everything the right way. And I'm even like, I'm more excited with the fact that he's now paired with Byard. I think Byard and him play very similarly. That from what I've seen, I think they really do, and it's going to be more of a, more of a situation where you have like 2 box safeties and 2 free safeties. Like these guys are interchangeable in that capacity in my mind.
You want to give him playmaker? Give him playmaker. Y'all can overrule me.
I 100% believe that Jaquan Brisker is a playmaker. That's me.
Go ahead, Brian.
I view Brisker just about like I do Komet. Very good. Not exactly would be my go-to person. With Keds was right about.
You got the tie-breaking vote, Brian. If he makes the team, if he makes the playmaker list or not, you got the vote.
If he's healthy all year, yeah, he could become a playmaker.
Make a choice. Either you're gonna put pen to the paper or no.
No, he would be next here.
Okay, kids, you got outvoted that time. So how many by count do you have by now?
Oh shit! Of the elite, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you want to count Edmonds and Edwards as one, that would be 7 or
no,
8.
Individually, they belong.
All right, then you got 8, and then I got 3 guys that are just a tier below, and Bookings, Booker, and Brisker.
Okay. Let me think. Let me make sure I'm not leaving nobody out. I think people will want to hear about. Kez will be right back. But I think, Brian, people will want to hear about Tyreek Stevenson. Are you ready to call him a playmaker?
Oh, man, if he's not, he's right up against it. I mean, talk about being on the cusp. Physically, I think he's more talented than Johnson. Johnson just has the experience and cerebral. But, I mean, you look at how many tackles. He had over 80 tackles last year, 4 interceptions. And, I mean, he didn't start at the first, 4 or 5 games or so. Wasn't that great, but boy, did he ever come on. And I expect we're going to see more of the latter half of the season from him this year going forward. Man, he is definitely a star on the rise.
Huh.
So you didn't hear it, kids, but Brisker made the cut.
I heard everything. I didn't go too far. That's fine. I think, like I say, I think he's one of those guys. I will say very similar things for Tyreek Stevenson. I think he's definitely a playmaker. I think we had the opportunity to watch him step into his role as a playmaker. Took a little while, right? It was a little bit physical and a little bit more handsy than you would have liked early into the season. But again, he's a lot longer and more rangy than a Jalen Johnson could be physically, right? So I think we got an opportunity last season.
Well, all right, you just bring up a great point. If Jalen is a shutdown, which he is, and the opposing team is afraid to throw his way, then that's just going to give Stevens more opportunities.
Well, and this is what we saw last season, right? So we saw that all last season. Beginning of it was just him being a rookie going, wait a minute. Oh, man, are they going to pass the ball at me all game long? And the answer to that question was all season long, right? It just changed the word game to season because that's what's going to happen. They're going to target you. You're the young rookie. They don't necessarily trust what you're seeing. They definitely trust what's going to happen with Jalen on the other side. So we're going to focus our attack on him. Don't be surprised if that's the case scenario again this season. What I'm going to say one more time, kid got so much better, so much less handsy, so much less physical. And when I say that, he'll still tackle the daylights out of you. He'll put a you know what I'm saying? Like physicality, he will bring the physicality to you without drawing a flag.
The next
I really
choice,
like what he brings.
Well, we got to. Go ahead, Brian. My bad.
The next choice for the quarterback, if you can't throw it Jalen or Stevenson, you got to throw it in the middle, and that could open up. Brisker does become the superstar or the playmaker.
Brisker, Edmonds, Kyler Gordon.
Okay.
Got 3 playmakers right there in the middle.
Here we go with probably the 2 biggest arguments we'll have tonight. If we're gonna start low and go high. Romo Dunze. I'm just gonna leave it there. Playmaker or no?
It's kind of hard someone that hadn't played a pro game yet to say that they're a playmaker.
I feel pretty good about Austin Booker. I've seen enough of him.
The kid's a playmaker. Have I seen him make many plays? No. So I'm with Brian on this one, right? Like I'm with you, Brian. I don't know what to say here. I know that if you ask me the same question this time, 2025, I'll probably be fully sold on riding the Romo Dunze train, saying he's definitely a playmaker and should probably go to the Hall of Fame. But at this present time, I just haven't seen him do anything in order for me to really,
We may be able to come to this mid-season.
Yeah, you're right. It might take us. It might even be shorter than that, given how interesting the connection between him and Caleb is. Right, like it could be like that too.
I'll say playmaker with asterisks.
Y'all not ready to book him?
I'm gonna say we're not gonna book him right now, but we both feel very confident that he will be on this list at very similar to Austin Booker. Very similar.
Man, hey Don, you talking about Romo Dunze and Austin Booker? They play a different role than a rookie cornerback does. Terry Arnold's gonna get his ass kicked early, somewhere around mid-season, somewhere around trade deadline. If they got good coaches, you'll see a turnaround in him. But early, I'm just telling you, Don, he's gonna get his motherfucking lunch took.
It's not just that he's gonna get his lunch took; it's that he's the top tier, top caliber guy in your secondary. He's got room to grow. The rest of your guys are okay. They're not great. Kirby Joseph, you've been trying to sell me on Kirby Joseph for quite some time. I ain't buying the Kirby Joseph sweepstakes, bro. I'm just saying it. Terrion's going to take a little while to get there, and the rest of your team, the rest of your secondary has to grow alongside him. It's not the other way around.
Yeah. So I would say Rome is. Let's see. I'm not ready to put him in.
He's a let's see. Like I say, he will be there down the road.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's that strong possibility. We probably got a nice little list of possibles, don't we, Brian?
Well, we got 4 so far.
Okay, so here we go with the ultimate Caleb Williams, and I'm just going to save my comment till you guys get done.
Oh, I was waiting for Velus Jones. Yeah,
we'll do that too.
I'm just saying, like, all we've seen is this guy make plays. So there's that as the determining factor for me. All he's done is make plays. So I can't call him anything but a playmaker. Caleb Williams, y'all.
What say you, Brian?
I want to see if Caleb gets the calls that Justin didn't.
Okay, so do you want to call him a playmaker or
yes.
No? Okay, I'm 100% in agreement with that. He showed me pretty quick that he can make plays, and he will make plays when given those opportunities. I'm calling him a playmaker. That's why they drafted him, because they know he's a playmaker. You know what I mean? Justin was a playmaker too, not taking anything away from him, but this guy's got way more artillery than Justin had.
Just different types of plays were being made, right? They weren't necessarily the type of plays that we wanted to be made because,
Either way, this dude, yeah, he's a playmaker. He wouldn't be on. They wouldn't have gone and basically put together this roster and gone out and potentially almost getting a trade for Matthew Judon if they didn't think this guy can make plays in the moments that they need him to make plays. He's a fucking playmaker. Period.
Yeah.
I believe that. I'm not going off of what they did, even though what they did just layered on the icing for me to make me understand that they know what they have in that building. He's a playmaker. He's a playmaker, period. In my opinion, I think everybody agrees with that. Book him.
I got no arguments for that.
And so we can talk about Velus Jones. Let's talk about that right quick. Playmaker.
So he's an X factor.
That's what they call playmakers.
Sometimes, I just have to see him do it in a regular season game now, right? Like, he has the tools. There's no questions there. Question is, what are you going to do with those tools? So I just want to see it on the field. That's all. So Velus Jones for me is definitely a potential playmaker, but not a playmaker today.
Okay. What say you, Brian?
Not a playmaker, not when you got Swift in front of him.
Oh, yeah. We skipped over DeAndre Swift
we didn't skip him. You saying Velus is not a playmaker? Don't add him because I got outvoted. Let's go to the next guy who is Cole Kmet. Playmaker or no, kids?
Yeah, Cole's high quality. Man. For me, I just keep picturing that drop, that drop in the preseason from Caleb. Beautiful pass. That's where my head space is right now, and it sucks. I'm sorry, Cole. Yo, you're a playmaker, bro. I'm sorry. Cole Kmet's a playmaker.
What say you, Brian?
I agree. He's a playmaker.
Book him. Because I agree with that. He's a playmaker. When called on, he makes plays. Let's stay in the tight end room real quick. Gerald Everett, playmaker or no?
Definitely.
What say you, Brian? You're going to get outvoted. Vote down if you want to.
Yeah, I see him as an X factor, very good, but he's second fiddle.
Okay.
Which it don't mean he don't have a purpose or won't help us win games. It's just Kmet's, to me, is better.
He's a playmaker. So book him. All right, we got one more, and probably the most important for Caleb right now, and that is DeAndre Swift. Playmaker or no, kids?
100%. No question about his ability to make plays, not just in the run game, but also as a receiver, also as a blocking running back. He it's so funny, man. Like, we go back and forth with Don all the time. When he was coming out in the draft, and that's like two running backs drafted in a row to Detroit. I really liked Swift, and then Detroit picked him, and I was like, damn, I ain't gonna watch him no more. And then they went and did the same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm like, man. But anyways, I was kind of surprised that he wound up in Chicago because he had a great season in Philadelphia. And that was sort of where things were a little bit weird for me personally. I kind of looked at the situation. He didn't perform very well. There's some issues apparently behind the scenes in Detroit. He leaves Detroit, winds up in Philadelphia, and has a resurgence. He played very well. No questions.
So Don, let me speak to Don right quick because he's pointing out something that a lot of people speak to. Don is saying Swift equals fragile guy, ran Deuce Staley out of Detroit. Let me tell you why he didn't work out in Detroit. Because he was at the end of his contract, and y'all run too goddamn much up against a brick stone wall with a guy that ain't built to take 30, 35 runs in a game. You got to know what you got. You got to know that this guy, you got to have a complimentary backfield. You can't give this guy the ball 30 times in the game.
Don, who was his backup?
At that time, it was what's his name? Number I think it was. He came from Green Bay. Green Bay had him for a little while. I can't think of his name right now, but Don knows.
Williams.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Williams.
Williams. Williams. Yeah,
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams with all the
They ran
Naruto references. That's what it is. He was all about Naruto.
Detroit has a coach that is very similar to ours, and that really believes in running the ball and really forcing your will on a team. Now, if you're gonna give a guy, you got to give a guy. If you're gonna give a guy 30 carries in a game or somewhere in that neighborhood, even 20, 25 carries in a game, he's got to have the ability to be in the body to be able to put up with it. You do that with the Brandon Jacobs type. You do that with the what's the big boy that was just he's with the Ravens now, that was in Tennessee. You do that with those
Derrick
types.
Henry.
You do that with those types of guys. Big backs. Detroit is notorious for really, really trying to force the run down people's throat. They execute it well, and this is just me being honest with Don and his team. They execute the run very well, but sometimes it's too much on the back and his body type. You got to have a body type to be able to put up with that kind of punishment. So if he was hurting Detroit, it's because he was overused. They run the ball a little too much with the same guy, and he's going to get hurt, period. That's just the way it works. And so, that's just plain old ass physics, dude. You know what I mean? In this backfield, Khalil Herbert will get damn near as many handoffs as DeAndre Swift will. And they will sprinkle in some Velus Jones and some Roschon Johnson. So it wouldn't be like he'll be accepting 30, 35 carries, maybe not even 20, 25 in a game, because a lot of his plays will come out of the backfield because they're going to kill you with the quick game. So it's going to be a lot of screen passes, a lot of underneath stuff, and it's going to be catch and run, and they're going to be busting people up with that. So Swift is definitely a playmaker. Just because he didn't stay the distance in Detroit don't mean he's not worth it, man. That dude is a stud.
Well, and to touch on the Philadelphia situation, Don's out there saying, oh, he didn't last in Philadelphia. Real simple reason it didn't last in Philadelphia. It's twofold. Reason number one, it was time to pay the running back. Nobody's really out there trying to pay the running back. And Philadelphia had the opportunity to look at the dollars and cents and go, wait a minute. If we're going to pay a running back, why not pay Saquon Barkley? And that's what they decided to do. They decided to upgrade at the position. I can't hold them, I can't say anything negatively about them doing that. I think it's a great move. Let's all be honest here. I kind of expect at some point in the season to hear about somebody limping, if you know what I'm talking about, in Philadelphia. That being the case, I think we got ourselves a running back at a decent price tag, and he's gonna do damage over the course of the next few years. And he used to be y'all running back. So when we come to see you guys in Detroit, I'm pretty sure it'll be a field day for DeAndre Swift.
So, all right, Brian. So you got the total. Count me your playmakers on this roster.
10.
Name them off.
DJ, Kyler Gordon, Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, Keenan Allen, Kevin Byard, Caleb Williams, Cole Kmet, Everett, and Swift.
So how many defenders do you have on there?
You got 1, 2, 3, 4.
So you got 4.
Oh, wait a minute. I missed Edmonds and Edwards. It's still 10, but yeah. So you got 6.
Did you mark them individually, or as a group? You should mark them individually. Edwards and Edmonds.
I marked them individually.
So how many defenders you got again?
6.
So you got 6 defenders. How many offensive guys do you have? As
4.
playmakers? So you have
Oh, that
6.
isn't right. 1,
You got
2,
10.
3, 4, 5 offensive guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I
So it
got
sounds like you got 11.
11 people, 6 defense, 5 offense.
And so let me. Kez, you okay with that? With the guys that he named?
Yeah.
Brian, you feel confident about that?
Yeah.
Let me know in the chat right now if you agree. If you agree that we've got 11 bona fide playmakers on this team, 6 defensively, 5 offensively. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't agree with that, give me a thumbs down. No matter how you feel about it. If you don't agree with it all, give me a thumbs down. But to my understanding, we've got, and I think I heard Bill Polian say that you need at least 7 to 8 blue guys. And if they made this thing as a playmaker, that means they're a blue guy. You got studs at those positions. They said that when Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus got to this organization, you need to get to a point where you got 7, 8 blue players, blue chip guys that can make a difference in a game. And we've got not only 11 guys, we've got a strong 4 or 5 possibles, right? Am I right, Brian?
I got 4 guys. It was just a shade under that, and Billings, Booker, and Odunze, because they hadn't played a game in the NFL yet. We're just hope, but Billings and Brisker, I have just under the playmaker. So that would give you 15.
I am, and when you guys hear me say this, I am beyond you. Nobody can knock my enthusiasm for what I know this team is capable of. I'm gonna tell you, there's a very simple reason why I know this team is going to be good and it's going to be able to sustain themselves in a game. Is because we've got an experienced defense that's going to help. That's going to help this young quarterback along, and they won't have to lean on him too heavily to be the playmaker that they know he is. They will give him an opportunity to slowly become the guy that he needs to be for this team, and he's got a plethora of guys around him that'll help facilitate that. Meaning Swift, meaning Cole Kmet, meaning Gerald Everett, meaning DJ Moore, meaning Keenan Allen, possibly Velus Jones. We didn't even talk about Tyler Scott because he doesn't factor into those possibilities. He could be a very, very, very nice and welcome surprise for everybody.
I want to add one more possible playmaker that we didn't talk about, and I'm not saying this as a joke, but
Talking about the punter, I know.
Yes,
That very good point, Brian. I can't even argue with that. I would have that day we drafted him, but Lord have mercy, is he? You are absolutely right, Brian. I'm just gonna leave it there. You add him to that motherfucker. He is a playmaker.
Yeah.
Would you disagree with that, kids?
Yes.
You would disagree with that?
Yeah. I'm not a special teams guy, man. I need to see the effect it actually has on the games. If he's doing stuff that actually affects games, that's making plays, yo. At this present time, I haven't seen it, so if I'm not gonna put Austin Booker and Romo Dunze on there on the rookie season, definitely not gonna put the rookie kicker on there on the rookie season. But that's just this guy.
I think you got overruled. He's getting on the list. Booking.
There you go.
I just really feel good about this team. I think they've got the right guys in the right places. The right guys in the right places. Reason why we didn't talk about the offensive line is because you wouldn't consider them a playmaker individually. What you would think is, as a collective, can they be sustainable to give this young quarterback an opportunity? And I believe yes, right? I believe absolutely yes. And we'll just leave that conversation there. But all you guys out here,
I want to add something else real quick too, Nomad, that we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about none of the guys on the offensive line.
right? Because they're a collective. Individually, we could talk about them, but it really wouldn't make a big difference because none of them are standout players individually yet.
Man, like I agree with where you're going with this, but at the same time, then I stop and I think about much less in pass protection. In pass protection, you're 100% with the whole, one unit idea. But in run blocking, now we're talking about a couple of individual guys who make plays. And Tevin Jenkins is up there with anybody on this line as a guy who can make a play by way of run blocking for any individual, whether it's Caleb Williams, your homie Velas. You know what I mean? Like Tevin is that good, and I can't really take away from either Braxton or Darnell Wright. You know what I'm saying? In a run situation,
You're going to actually call them playmakers, though. You got to be real about that. Individually, are they playmakers?
I cannot say that Tevin Jenkins individually on a run play is not a playmaker. He sure as F is. Like for sure he is.
I'll let Brian vote on it. I'm saying hell no.
If your offensive line sucks, you can't pass, you can't run. So I would say Tevin and Darnell.
If you can't call them a playmaker as a unit, because that's what they are, man. That's how that functions. It's not an individual job. It's a together thing with the offensive line. So it's
not necessarily on
it
a
is, man. It really is, man. It's like you can single, like if I wanted to say, all right, Darnell Wright is one of the top 10 offensive tackles in the league. If I wanted to just say that, I could say that. But to call him a playmaker is a different thing.
That's why I went with Tevin Jenkins, though. Like, and we're gonna take the Caleb Williams rushing touchdown as the example. If Tevin Jenkins is not upfield, ready to block, waiting for Caleb to run behind him, that might not be a touchdown the way that it was a touchdown.
All right. I don't want to get caught up in
he made a play back there.
This can go on for a minute, man. But I look at the offensive line as a unit because that's just the way it functions. And either they're either like Don, I'm glad you're still here because if we had the Detroit Lions team and we were Detroit Lions fans and we were talking about them and playmakers, I would give that offensive line that title as playmaker in this scheme. I would call them a playmaker. That offensive line is, you could call that elite. That's elite offensive line play they got going on. And that's just the truth about it. And I can't call our offensive line that yet. And so I'm not going to single out 1, 2, 3 individual players. I'm going to look at the unit. How well does the unit function? We're gonna find out here soon. But I can't just individually say this guy's a playmaker because I think he's a really good guard or tackle or center. You know what I mean? I just can't do that right now. And so that's just me.
All right.
But hopefully you guys get that. I think the whole point of this show was tonight, and I hope everybody understands what we're trying to get at. It is that there is no effing reason at all for anybody amongst this fan base and our brethren to be starting to taper off and feel kind of like, oh no, man, I still got some questions about. No, why? No, we've got guys in positions that can really make a difference in games. In games, we have everything we need to be a really good football team, and there's no reason to put doubt over this team right now because of Chicago or because we've had not such a good history, or because you got PTSD because other Bears team led you down, down the hope road and you got hurt. Let the past go. Let the past go. Believe in what you have. And I'm telling you, you guys may or may not believe this, but I believe our energy. I'm talking about the fans. I'm just as much a fan as anybody else, even though I played football. That has shit to do with what we're talking about right now. I'm just as much a fan as you guys are. And I believe in what they have. And it's just me taking time to really study what they have. They've got some really, really promising things going on, and a quarterback that I believe that they provided enough of a buffer. And I mean, when I say buffer, in the pieces that they put around him in order for him to develop and grow the right way. And I believe at the right time during this season, we're going to see the fruits of that. And I think we've got a good enough defense that can really, really harness and really keep that expectation where it needs to be. We've got enough pieces on offense to make that work. There's no reason why Bears fans should be down on this team, or even 7, 8, 9. I don't know if we can get that. Man, please. This team can win 12 easily. Easily. I'm telling you. So you heard it here on the Nomad Network. You just heard it from me. My guys, Kids and Brian may feel different about that. I'm speaking for myself. There's no reason to get down on this team. Don't get nervous now because the season is only 7 days away. Don't get nervous now. Believe in this fucking team, because I think they believe in themselves. But before I carry on and get carried on even further than that, I'm going to pass it on to the Canuck for some pleasantries so we can get up out of here. We've given you 3 hours and 17 minutes worth of content. Not only that, we haven't asked you for a like. We haven't asked you for a subscription. We haven't asked you for a dime. We're just giving it to you because that's what we do over here, man. We just give you great content and let you do what you're going to do. If you're going to subscribe, you're going to hit the like, you're going to do it without any instruction. If you're going to be a member, you're going to do that without a prompt too. So that being said, I'm going to pass it on to Canuck, and let's see what he thinks about this going on out the door.
All right. No maniacs. Cheers to all of you. Thanks for coming through on a Sunday and hanging out with us once more. Nomad, what were you sipping on tonight?
I got some Jameson.
Okay, all right. Your glass half full or half empty?
I'm half full, bro.
I was just say his is always half full.
That's why I'm asking the question. So you guys just heard you just heard the half full synopsis from the guy, from Nomad, from your host. I feel things are a little bit different, and Katrina, I usually go back and forth with you on a show sometimes when you're hanging out with us. Today, I'm kind of right there with you today. Katrina Pullen says they're a good team on paper. Show me. And I think we're the show's about to start, Katrina. It's about to start. So I'm with you. I have a very similar demeanor about this entire thing. But what I have to applaud Nomad for today was actually breaking down this roster and taking a look at it from a blue chipper perspective. It's important because when Bill Polian looked at this roster, he said, yeah, you got Khalil Mack. I don't know about the rest of these guys. And immediately he flushed Khalil Mack. So there were no blue chippers on this team year one. And Poles has basically had to build his way around this and bring us to where we're at. And I'm really proud of what he's put together. I think you guys will be really proud of what he's put together. But more importantly, as even keel as I try to stay about this whole thing, deep down, I know that this team is going to prove my even keel silly. And the reason for it is the balance that Ryan Poles has brought to the squad. There's balance now. And you're going to hear me and Brian talk about balance for the rest of this season. Because that's what it is. Nomad just depicted balance to you guys today. He basically showed you that there's approximately 6 guys on the defense that are blue chip caliber players. Approximately 5 guys on the offense that are blue chip caliber. And then we've got 4 guys who are burgeoning blue chippers on both sides of the ball. It's only 11 guys to play football on a side, right? So I think that's pretty close to being a balanced situation where we have a lot to offer, whether it's offense, whether it's defense. I'm in. So all I can tell you guys, even though I'm being even keel, because it's just like I'm trying not to have heart attacks at this rate. Like I need to make it to the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? I need to make it to the end of the season. I think this might just be the single greatest Bears football season of all time. And that's saying a lot. I was around for 85. I saw that. I was a little shit, but I saw it. I think this might trump 85 for completely different reasons. Whether it actually turns into a Super Bowl or not remains to be seen. But what I know we're going to see is we're going to see balanced football. We're going to see a dominating defense, and we're going to see an offense that's going to take the entire NFL by storm. And like one little additional thing before I shut her down here, Don, you were talking about how you like the players choosing the top 100, etc. There's this thing called Bears tax, and I'm sure you're probably very familiar with it because I know Lions tax exists. You go 0 for 16 a couple of times, and like definitely there's got to be Lions tax. Well, there's Bears tax. Right now, the entire league is sleeping on this team. If you're trying to tell me that Keenan Allen is the only guy who made that list and he was on a different team and that's why, the league ain't paying attention to what's happening in Chicago. And that's perfect. It's exactly what we want. We want these guys to walk into a situation that they're not really ready for. And I don't think the league is ready for Caleb Williams. I do not. I don't think the league is ready for Austin Booker. If those two things turn into real deal situations for the Chicago Bears, the North is ours. Watch out.
You didn't give any shout outs, man.
I'm about to jump into shout outs, yo. So that being said, let me give you guys some love. Katrina Pullen. What it do, Katrina? Thanks for chopping it up with us today. Hate to put you on blast a little bit, but hey, I'm right there with you. I feel very similar. Bear Truth 9 was rolling with us today. Good to see you, BT9. Joseph Belinsky's out there. Don Bird talking smack all day long is what he does. No love for Don Bird. Derek Carter, what it do? Who else we got out there? Brian Gilmore's hanging out with us. In the Grass jumped in. Moss was out there with us too. Derek Carter holding it down with the crew. Brian Gilmore. Who else we got out there? Definitely the Plankster. Ryan Schlanzer was with us for a little bit. Y'all Shockway. Who else we got? Did I miss anybody? Jay Sanders. Oh, I miss you in the chat, Jay. What's cracking, Jay? Thanks for coming through. Well, Fugra was with us. Damon Dice was out there with us today, too. Man, we had a pretty packed house. Jedi Jada was with us, too. Man. Yeah, like, that's...
Hold up. Kids, I gotta pause you for a second because in the graphs, he said in the graph says good coaching in the fourth quarter, be able to execute plays for positive yards even when the defense knows it's coming. Even if it's 1 yard, 10 wins. If the punter is good, if the punter is as good, it's good 12 wins. CW plays all game. I think he's trying to say the coaching needs to step up a level. Number one, he's saying that you got to call the right shit at the right time, and be able to do what Detroit does to people. Credit Detroit and Don Burr and that team got a good enough offensive line where they're able to force their will at you. He's saying that you got to get to that level, and the punter is good enough to do exactly what you think he can do and give you great field position and give you a chance to win those games. And he's good for 12 wins. We're good for 12 wins. And
I'm in full agreement with all of that stuff at the same, like, again, tempered expectations. My My prediction for the season is 12-4. It was also my prediction last year. Strangely, here we are, right? Like I'm ready to go this season. I think we're going to do some very damaging things, and I think the league is going to be very upset with the Chicago Bears at the end of the season. But that being said, all we really need is a little bit of Caleb magic and a little bit of Austin Booker magic, and sprinkling a little bit of Jervon Dexter in there, and hello North.
All right.
Country Santa.
Well, no maniacs. 3.5 hours of came and went. Thank you for sticking it out. There's not a whole lot that I could add to what Ked said, but I will say not only is it one of the most balanced teams on both sides, and both sides have youth, I will say the coaching on both sides, with the addition of Waldron and who he brought on the offense, and with Washington on defense. This is one of the best stacked teams that I can remember in the 50-plus years that I've been a Bears fans. Thank you for sticking with us. Great points. I'm effing ready for the season. And by this time next week, let's be talking about the Bears' victory.
Hello.
That's it. And, to the very point that the very point of this show tonight was to reassure Bears fans that if you get so caught up into, all the stuff that's surrounding this season, what the expectations are, and all the naysayers that tell that, basic, history would tell you that the Bears have no chance this season. They got a rookie quarterback, and all that kind of stuff will dampen your expectations, basically. And all of the reasons why, because the NFC North is pretty tough. The Lions and the Packers are going to be a great competitor. They're going to be an excellent measuring stick. But before we get to them, we're going to run through some teams that you don't expect us to run through. Early in the season, we're going to run through those teams. And when we get those first few wins under our belts, I think people will come back to a show like this and understand exactly what the premise of it was. And that is to reassure you that they put the right pieces in the right place to give us what Kez was talking about, the balance, to be able to really, really affect games in a positive way and keep us where we need to be. There's no reason why anybody amongst our fan base should be thinking anything other than we should be fighting for every game, and sometimes we should kick ass in every game, and it shouldn't even be competitive. And you can say, oh, no, man, you can't look at something on paper and just expect it to be. No, you can look at some stuff outside of just what it says on paper or on a roster, and you can look at a preseason and look at the energy, look at the mentality, look at what they stand for and how much they believe in themselves, and you can come away with a whole lot better prognosis than looking at a roster and saying this team should be good. I look at it all. And I really believe in what this team can do. They're going to show you better than I can sit here and tell you in about 7 days. It's Tennessee. They'll get that win against Tennessee, and then people will be like, oh, it's just Tennessee. They shouldn't have been that good. And they'll go back to that pessimistic point of view. And I'm going to tell you, nah. Tennessee is very talented. Very talented. Look at that roster and come back and tell me they're not, and I'll tell you smoking something. They're extremely talented. What'd you say?
I said they're not talented. I might be smoking something.
Oh, they're extremely
Look
talented.
at their 3 wide receivers.
And who throws him the ball again? Those receivers? Who throws the ball to them?
Yeah. He's Jekyll and Hyde like Rex.
Yeah.
All I have to do is play one game good.
Maybe I'm smoking.
They've got a second-year quarterback who is the epitome of up and down. He has some really good games and some really, like, what is he doing back there games?
Rex Chapman 2.0.
Yeah, pretty much. You just don't know what you're going to get from game to game. And that's, young quarterback shit right there. They do. Here's the thing that I'm excited about. They do have a changeover in defensive coordinator. That excites me because I know that whenever there's a new defensive coordinator, there's a learning curve on how fast that defense learns to play together, learns the scheme, learns the calls, learns the techniques, all the stuff that comes with learning a new defense and a new play caller because it's rhythm. It's rhythm and learning your role. They got a bunch of new pieces and a bunch of new places, new coordinator. I think it's advantageous to us, but I'll get into more of that when we break down that game, whatever day of the week we decide to do that. We're going to do that at some point this week. But when we get to that, I'll be able to point out, a whole bunch of different reasons why we have the advantage there. But with that being said, kids, we'll need to do a sign-up show this week, don't you think?
Yeah,
no?
we should do something along those lines. We'll figure that out though.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, Nomad, I also want to wish Armando a speedy recovery.
Yeah, Mando, get better soon, bro.
Me too, Junior, man. Get better, man. And don't do too many of them drugs. Go get you some back and body from Goodies, man. Don't get hooked on them drugs. You're too old for that shit. Yeah, there's nothing worse in the world than an old ass drug addict now.
That can't walk.
The young ones aren't any good either.
Yeah, but golly, man, the old ones, that's like befuddling to me. I'm like, come on, man, we too old for that. But with that being said, let me close out with this, man, because somebody again said something to me privately that was dear to my heart. And you guys, please bear with me for a second. And it was about race and racism, something that it's a white individual that frequently reaches out to me, and I respect the shit out of him. I'm gonna tell you something personally dear to me, and I'm gonna tell you how I got to where I am today. And the verses, till now might be a little bit disturbing, but it's the truth. And I'm all about transparency and letting people know who I am since I'm not a visual podcaster. Best thing I can do is tell you about me and relate this to the conversation I want to have with him on a personal level. I'm just going to have it out in the open. And if it touches somebody, great. Hopefully you can understand where I'm coming from. He had an experience that, we live in a climate right now, and this isn't a political show, and we're not going to get into that at all. I keep politics completely out of this show for a reason. It has no place in this conversation that we have on these shows. And so what I will say is, in this climate that we live in right now, there seems to be a real openness to racism right now. And it seems as though there's a green light to it. So people have it's almost like there's no, there was a layer of, okay, let me not do this or not say that. And that was the societal norm. Now it seems like it's like an open invitation. Let's be as racist as fuck I want to. I want to call you a name. I want to be racist. I want you to know that I'm racist. And I'm talking to you as a black man and my experiences in my life and where I come from and what I've gone through and come through to get to the point to where I am now. It ain't as good as it is now. It was bad. I was in a place when I was living down in the South where I absolutely could not stand a white man from the South. Quite honest with you, I could not stand the sight of him. I couldn't, like Brian sitting there with that camo hat on, with that whole look.
Just under the bill. The rest of it's Bears.
Hold on, Brian. Let me finish this out. This is real stuff. And I was some things were brought to my attention by a guy that dresses in the camo gear and the beard and the whole everything, the big truck and all the stuff that people, all the stereotypes that people put on, Southern white men. This guy that I knew, we would just call him Bud. Bud was everything that I didn't like about Southern white men. At the same time, Bud was everything good with the world. I was going through some significant, it was real significantly bad experiences down there, to the point to where I didn't want shit to do with a Southern white man. I didn't want shit to do with a white man, period. I got to that point. I didn't want to talk to you. Get the fuck out of my face, dude. You just like the rest of them. That kind of mindset. Not too long ago. Not too long ago. But my man Bud, knowing that I was from the North, knowing that, I didn't really understand Southern white man culture for the most part. And I'm not talking about every Southern white man. I'm talking about your typical Southern white man down there. He said that these are the things that you should pay attention to. When you see certain things, you should get the fuck out of that environment. And he pointed out some things. I got too much conversation to point all of them out. But what he told me was something that he knew that I needed to understand, being a resident down there, because he had a specific heart for me, because he knew that I was honest and I was upfront with him about how I felt about the whole experience down there. And he felt like my honesty. He told me this later, that your honesty and you being upfront with how you felt, made me tell you some things that you needed to know to not only, have a good existence down here, to survive. I don't want you to fall into a situation where you don't recognize certain things. And so he told me some stuff that really put some fat on the back of my head for those in the street that know what I'm talking about, made me learn, an environment that I didn't grow up in. And so I'm saying all this to tell you, to tell that individual that talked to me, he had some adverse experiences with Black people. And the experiences that he's had, I can tell by his conversation with me, it makes him feel a certain kind of way about Black people, right? And all the experiences that I had with all those white men down in the South made me feel a certain thing about white people. And I came 100% full circle, 360 degrees, because there's no way in hell that I can, in my right mind, categorize everybody in that lump. I cannot. Not with my right mind, not with the good intentions and heart that I have. I cannot put Brian in a category like that, or any other white male, whether he's from the South or the North or anywhere. I cannot lump him into a stereotypical category. I refuse to do that. I refuse to do that. And I would encourage that individual that I'm talking about to feel the same way about any other race that you have some adverse experiences with. You cannot. You have to actively choose to be racist. And it takes a lot of energy to be that way. You have to actively choose to not be racist. It takes a lot of energy to do that. And I'm not going to be one of those people that sit here and tells you that they don't recognize race. They don't see race. That's a goddamn lie. I look in the mirror every day and I see a Black man. I see Brian every day as a white man. What I choose to do is not give it energy. I don't give a shit. I don't care if he's Black. I don't care if he's white. I don't care if he's green, plaid. I don't give a fuck. I choose to give the energy to Brian or any other person that doesn't look like me, the energy I give to him. And it takes a lot more energy to be a racist piece of shit and to judge people than it is to be understanding and open to who that individual is and what that individual is going through in his life or her. It's choice. You have to actively choose to not herd people into a category that they don't fit in. I'm going to say that one more time. You have to actively choose to not be that way and not herd people into a category that they don't belong. If I need to give that energy, I give that energy before I give, okay, I don't like anybody that doesn't look like me. Because I got to keep that up every day. Even if somebody's really sweet, really nice, really kind, really giving, and he doesn't look like me, I still got to put him in that category. How much energy is going to take me to, against my very instinct, that I know this person is trying to be a good person, to herd him into that category or her? It takes too much energy. It takes a lot less energy to love, to give a fuck, and treat people as they come to you. Don't assume a goddamn thing in this life. Nothing. Take people as they come to you, and if they belong in a fucking category, put them there. If they show you what they are, believe them. Put them in the category they belong in. But give that individual a chance to show you what they are. If they don't belong there, don't be in a rush to give all that energy to put them there, because it's easier for your dumb ass to be following stereotypes. Be a good person, be a good human. You have to be a real dummy to just assume that everybody, just because somebody looks a certain way, has to be a certain way. You have to be really dumb. You have to. If you want to be a good human on this earth and really put out the energy that belongs in this world, you have to give everybody a chance. It might hurt sometimes. They might disappoint you, but be okay with that, because it's worth it. It really is. I can tell you from experience that it's worth it. Even though I've had much more adverse experiences than I've had good, that's way more worth it to me. I'll take that to my heart, and it'll be with me forever, for the rest of my life. The great experiences I've had with people that don't look like me. And so I just wanted to end with that. Make a choice. Be active with your choices. Make a choice. If you want to be a hellion piece of shit and be a racist, that's what you are. Don't get mad when people call you that. If you want to be a good human being, then the next person that comes to you that doesn't look like you, actively give that human being a chance. That human being doesn't know your story. You don't know his or hers. Give them a chance to show you. It might not take long. Might take some time. You might end up loving the person. You never know. But please, for God's sake, do not look at someone and just characterize them and herd them into a category that they don't belong in. I don't care who you are, whether you look like me or you don't look like me. It's fucked up all the way around. Give folks a chance. Please. But with that being said, let me get to my close here. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys for being here. It was absolutely a ball. It took almost 4 hours to do this show. And Lord have mercy, we still got 120 people in this show. That is insane. That is insane. So we love you guys for being here and putting up with us with our crazy ass mouths. And, hopefully what I said tonight touches somebody and changes something about however you're moving. But Lord have mercy, I meant every word I said. Love you guys, kids, Brian. Thank you all for being here, man. It was a pleasure to be doing this show with you. Looking forward to a show or two coming up real soon. Enjoy your Labor Day. We're not going to be doing the show tomorrow. But after that, hit your notification bell, because we're coming. We got to do a sign-up show for kids, and we got to do a game breakdown for the Tennessee Titans. So that's coming up this week with the Nomad Network. But with that being said, we got to give you a close, and we got to leave you with this. If you can think it, people, and you can see it, people, nothing wrong with you manifesting it. You just got to get out of your own goddamn way. With that being said, we are out.